Chapter 76. When it's time to cut it off, Gale no longer hesitated. Strictly speaking, Gear is not in a hurry. There is no big event that he must do right away or he will miss it. He can just develop and grow slowly while having fun. After thinking about it carefully, there are still one or two things that are worth my attention at this time. The first is Tom, the merman shipwright, who was sentenced to death by the world government for building a ship for Gold Roger. However, because the world government took a fancy to Tom's sea train plan, the world government postponed Tom's execution for 10 years on the condition that he would design and build the sea train. At this time, Tom's studio should have been preparing to start building the sea train. There is no danger to life for the time being. Whether it is the legendary shipwright Tom, or the two apprentices Frankie Iceberg, they are all talents that Gale pays special attention to. Maybe he will have to steal his pants when the time comes. The second one is Kojiki Odin, who returned to Wano Kuni after the Roger pirates disbanded. In order to peacefully rescue Wano Kuni ruled by the Beast's pirates, he stupidly chose to believe the pirates and signed a 5-year nude dance agreement with Kaido and Kurozumi Orakai. Kojiki Odin began his nude dance life from then on. The people of Wano Kuni did not understand what he was doing, and they gradually became disappointed and disgusted with this prince who they had once placed high hopes on and was supposed to save them from danger. From then on, Kojiki Odin was called his foolish prince. Gale no longer wants to complain about the amazing brain circuits of Kojiki Odin and his retainers. There are just too many of them, and I'm afraid if I really talk about them, they will be found to be nonsense, especially that stupid son who is specifically designed to disgust people. Anyway, everyone knows which country and nation Wano Kuni refers to in reality. Isn't it normal for people to have some strange and serious diseases? However, the Feng Shui treasure land of Wano Kuni is quite good and suitable for being a rear base. Gale feels that if there is a chance, he must intervene and take advantage of the situation. Speaking of Wano Kuni, Gale suddenly remembered something else and turned to look at Moria, who was drunk again and snoring while holding a wine barrel. It's really delicious and I love to drink. If it weren't for the intervention of a time traveler like myself, Moria would have led his Moonlight Pirates to the New World next year, and then had a great battle with the Beast's pirates behind the bell in Wano Kuni. It was also that battle that turned this passionate young man into a fat otaku. After Roger's execution, he set out from East Blue Log Town and fought his way to the New World in more than a year. He was able to leave alive after a big fight with Kaido of the Beasts, who was about to become the king of pirates. During this time, Moria also dug up someone's ancestral grave in Wano Kuni and stole the body of the legendary swordsman Shimotsuki Ryoma and the Wano Kuni national treasure, the great sword Shusui. Even the protagonist had to spend 2.5 years to reach the Kaido copy. At the beginning, Kaido was defeated by one kid at a time. It took several people fighting in turns and the plot arrangement forced cheating to defeat Kaido. In comparison, Moria's record is still acceptable. Looking at Moria with his saliva all over the floor and a stupid look on his face, Gale couldn't help but feel curious. Moria now has stronger strength and more powerful partners than in the original. If Gecko Moria fights Kaido of the Beasts again, I wonder what the ending will be? Retract your thoughts. Gale thought that since he couldn't leave for the time being, he should think about how to make full use of this time. Looking at the two giant brothers in front of him who were already 70% drunk, he immediately had an idea. Ger put down the barbecue, took a can of drink, walked over to the two of them, sat down and asked. Hey, Broggy, Dory, since you guys are captains, you should be considered strong among the giants, right? Ka pa pa pa, of course, brother Gale. We giants believe in the use of force. Without sufficient strength, one cannot be a captain. Dory and I are of course the strongest in our tribe. Broggy said, patting his chest confidently. Ga, you're right, Broggy. You are worthy of being my lifelong enemy. Let's drink. After a round of business nonsense, the two men happily clinked their glasses and drank, leaving Gale aside. Ger continued, I heard that Elbaf's strongest martial art is called something like a gun or a stick. It's the gun of Elbaf. The two emphasized in unison. Oh, yes, yes. It's the spear of Elbaf. I heard that this move is extremely powerful and only the real giants can learn it. I wonder if you two know how to do it. Kacha-pacha, I didn't expect that Brother Ger knew this. That's right. This is the most powerful skill of our giant tribe. Of course, not everyone can master it, but Dory and I not only know the Elbaf spear, we can also use the combination skill Heikoku. The power of this move is not comparable to the ordinary Elbaf spear. What's the point of just talking? Come on. Bragi. Show our good friends. Yet, where's my axe? The two drunken men were about to stand up and look for their weapons to perform their ultimate moves. Gale hurriedly stopped them and deliberately asked, I wonder which of you two has the stronger Elbaf spear? Of course it's me. Times 2 kindness. Dori and Bragi shouted at the same time, then turned to look at each other, sparks flashing in their eyes instantly. As expected, faced with such a sharp question, the two immediately started arguing. The atmosphere at the scene became tense. Everyone was confused. They didn't know what Captain Gale was trying to do. They knew that the two giants had been fighting for a similar issue for nearly 100 years. Why did he ask such a question to provoke them? Bragi felt that with so many friends present today, he absolutely could not lose face, so he stiffened his neck and said, in that case, let's use the Elbaf spear together and have a head-on confrontation to see whose is more powerful. This is what the giant warriors love to hear the most. Dori's face flushed when he heard this and he immediately accepted the challenge. All right. Bragi, for the honor of the Elbaf warriors, I accept your challenge. Let's use our strongest move to decide the winner today. I knew it would turn out like this. What should we do now, Captain? Seeing that the two were about to fight again, Baya shouted in panic. Gale looked like he had succeeded in his evil plan and continued to tempt him. Brother Dori, Brother Bragi, as the saying goes, there is no first in literature and no second in martial arts. I also think you should compare your strengths. Brother Gale is right. Then today we should take advantage of the wine and use our strongest moves to decide the winner. And let our good friend be a witness. Dori stroked his long beard and said. Bragi also laughed in response. Ka pa pa pa, that's right. Those who survive will come back with honor and continue drinking. Gale continued with a smile, don't worry, both of you. I personally think that both of you are very strong, but the difference between you is not that great. Even if you use the Elbaf spear against each other, I'm afraid it will be impossible to determine the winner. Ah! How should we compare? Dori and Bragi have been fighting for their lives for nearly 100 years, and their strongest attacks must have collided many times. If there was a clear gap between them, they would not have been unable to determine the winner until now. Don't panic, brothers. I have a good way to help you decide the winner. Chapter 77. As soon as Dori and Bragi heard Ger say that there was a way, they immediately bent down and put their big faces closer. Brother Gale, what do you have in mind? Tell me quickly. As the two men started talking, Gale felt a gust of bad wind blowing past. Not only was the air filled with the smell of alcohol, but it was also likely that these two bastards hadn't brushed their teeth in decades, so their breath was really unbearable. Gale held his breath and took 2 steps back, leaving the biochemical area. After breathing fresh air again, he said, don't get excited, brothers. Sit down first and listen to me. I often hear people say that the real strong men in the sea are all good teachers. Not only are they strong themselves, but they are also good at teaching others. So now when people in the sea discuss who is stronger between 2 strong men, in addition to looking at his own strength, they also look at whether he can teach others. Those who can make others stronger with just a few casual teachings are called famous teachers, while those who have spent several years teaching but have not taught anything are criticized as mediocre teachers who mislead their students. Is that really the case? Are the requirements for being strong so strict on the sea now? Dori scratched his cheek in confusion. Of course. The requirements will definitely become more and more stringent. A truly strong person never complains about the environment. You may have stayed on this island for too long and don't understand the current situation outside the sea. Bragi's clever eyes rolled around in his small eye sockets, and he nodded and said, yes, maybe it's because we haven't been outside for too long, but I think what you said makes sense, Brother Gale. But how can we decide the winner between the two of us using the Elbaf spear? I still don't understand. Ahem, it's like this. Since your martial arts are almost the same in power, it's hard to tell whose spear of Elbaf is more powerful. So I think the best way is for each of you to find someone to teach you. The moves are the same anyway, so you can see who can teach the students faster. Or, after both students have learned, have them compete to see who teaches better. Wouldn't it be possible to tell who has a deeper understanding of the spear of Elbaf? After a lot of effort, Gale finally brought the topic back to his purpose. Up to this point, except for Weeble, who turned a deaf ear to the outside world and was only focused on eating. The other companions finally heard Captain Ghoul's real intention. They all thought that the captain was really cunning and treacherous. He came up with all kinds of excuses to trick two innocent giants into teaching them their special skills. It was really admirable. Even though Dory and Bragi lived for more than 100 years, they were still like two innocent little boys in front of Ger, and were fooled by their bad uncle with just a few words. After hearing what Ger said, their eyes immediately lit up. After a while, Bragi was the first to ask, "Brother Gel, this is indeed a good idea, but where can we find someone to teach us? This is not Elbaf. There are no young giants here. Ordinary people cannot learn the spear of Elbaf." Dory also crossed his hands over his chest and nodded in approval. Gel smiled with a look of success, pointed at Weeble and Moria and said, "What do you think of these two friends on my ship? Just by looking at their body sizes, you can tell that they are not ordinary humans. To tell you the truth, they both have the blood of giants, otherwise they wouldn't look like bears. So their strength and physical strength are not inferior to your giant warriors. I think they have all the basic conditions to learn the spear of Elbaf. Besides, wouldn't it be more reflective of the teacher's ability if the teaching is a little difficult?" "I see." The two giants looked as if they had suddenly understood something. Gel felt that Weevil and Moria were definitely qualified to learn the giants' unique skills, but of course whether they could learn them or not was another matter. Big Mom has proved that the spear of Elbaf is not only learned by the giants, and Kaido can cooperate with Big Mom to perform the highest level combo skill of the spear of Elbaf, C domination, which means that Kaido's move Thunder 8 trigrams may also have evolved from the spear of Elbaf of the giants. Ka pa pa pa. Am I going to be a famous teacher too? Ha 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 ha, I am the one who can become a famous teacher, Bragi. You are definitely a mediocre teacher who misleads students. Dory and Bragi were very satisfied after a quick check of the physical fitness of Weeble and Moria, and they immediately decided to use Gear's method to determine the winner. Finally, a draw of lots decided that Bragi would teach Weeble and Dory would teach Moria, and they agreed to test the teaching results of the two after 1 month. When Moria woke up, he heard that Captain Gale had decided for him to become Dory's apprentice. He was a little reluctant at first. Moria felt that the two giants, Dory and Bragi, were of average strength. If they were to really let go and fight, he felt that the two of them combined might not be his match. What powerful moves could Bhaskar have that he would go to such great lengths to coax and trick them into learning? Under the pressure of Gear's order and considering that even Weeble had to learn, Moria reluctantly agreed to learn. However, when he witnessed the power of Elbaf's gun on the first day of class, Moria stared blankly at the parted sea and completely changed his mind. He, that's awesome. Such a gorgeous and powerful move must have been carefully prepared for me. As Captain Gale explained, this is a combat skill that greatly increases the power. The stronger the user is, the more terrifying the power released is. The upper limit is very high, and two people can cooperate to perform a combination skill, and the power is multiplied. You are very worthy of it. Moria began to work hard. He was determined to learn the spear of Elbaf before Weeble, and then use this trick to defeat him once, thus breaking his own record against Weeble, 108 losses and 0 wins. Gel was happy to see this happen. In order not to dampen Moria's enthusiasm, he did not tell him that this plan might soon fail, because after the first day of practice, Gel saw the skill Spear of Elbaf learning progress 10% displayed on Weeville's system panel. At the beginning, Ger asked Aiken and Sainyor to observe and learn from the side to see if they could master it, but later they found that ordinary people really could not learn the giant's unique skills. Although Gel had made it up before, monsters like Weevil, Moria, Kaido, and Big Mom, who are 7 to 8 meters tall, may really have a certain proportion of giant blood, either inherited or upgraded. Their physical fitness is close to or even exceeds that of the giants, so they are qualified to learn. Chapter 78. So the next schedule is for Moria and Weeble to learn the Spear of Elbaf from Dory and Bragi. Although Ajin, Bia, and Sainyor could not follow along to study, they did not fall behind in their own training. Fortunately, there were quite a few powerful dinosaurs and wild beasts on the island that could serve as their training opponents. Ajin has already initially awakened his observation ability, and now he is blindfolded when torturing dinosaurs. Fy was still stroking Ziobi while recording what she saw and heard on each island in her logbook, and then carefully attached beautiful photos. When she had free time, she would also do sketches and draw some beautiful paintings, which she would frame and hang in various places on the boat as decorations. Although she did not train to exhaustion every day like the others, she felt that such days were also very fulfilling. Mozan studies finance and Fate delves into cooking, but food is a common topic for both of them. Recently, Mozan has been frequently going to Fate to try new dishes. He cooks for himself every day, but he is getting thinner and thinner. Gale didn't notice the problem at first, but later he realized that the two brothers saw the young people on the ship training hard and their strength improved by leaps and bounds, so the two old men became anxious. For the sake of men's damn desire to win, they felt that if they didn't work harder, they would become the weakest duo on the ship. Especially as Fate watched his daughter grow up, he suddenly felt a sense of midlife crisis, so the two of them privately found Captain Gale, hoping to help him develop a training plan. After that, they pretended to discuss food every day, but in fact they secretly hid away to practice more. In this way, everyone on the ship found something to keep themselves busy, and only Gale was left with nothing to do. Ah, what a headache! Gale looked at the two identical recording pointers in his hands, scratched his head and complained to himself. The two record pointers in his hand, one is from his original ship, and the other is seized from the pirates' ship yesterday when Gale, Ajahn and Senor were patrolling near the island and discovered and killed a group of pirates. Unfortunately, according to what the pirates said before they died, they had just arrived here not long ago, only a few days earlier than Gale and his team, so the recording pointer will still have to wait nearly a year before it can store the magnetic field of the next island. Simply put, it is useless. Oh damn, do I really have to stay here for a year? Gale thought about it and shook his head to reject it. It had only been a few days and he was already tired of the game. He had the potential to become a scumbag. He thought that after Moria and Weeble learned the Spear of Elbaf, it would be a waste of time to stay here. What's more, he was still obsessed with the gold on Sky Island. Although he knew that the gold would still be there when the Straw Hat crew went to Sky Island in more than 20 years, and Gale didn't have to worry about it being taken away now, his mother always said that it was better to put the money in the pocket, and Gale always listened to his mother. While daydreaming, Gale saw a dead leaf floating on the water with a beetle on it. The leaf looked like a small boat carrying the little beetle to sail on the sea. Gale thought it was quite interesting and kept his eyes on it for a few more seconds. Bang! Suddenly, a big fish jumped out of the water, opened its mouth wide and swallowed the boat and the worms into its stomach in one gulp. At that moment, Gale's head felt like it was electrocuted. He stood up quickly. The scene that just happened reminded him of something, the island-eating monster. It's the giant goldfish that lurks near the island, eating up the island and swallowing passing ships. Yet, how could I forget about that guy? That goldfish has swallowed countless ships, maybe we can find the recorded pointer in its stomach. Gale clenched his right fist and hammered the palm of his left hand. The more he thought about it, the more feasible it seemed. Hee, that's right. Maybe you can find a lot of gold treasures besides recording pointers. He did what he said. Since everyone else was busy training, Ger went straight back to the ship and headed straight for the medical room. If we want to explore the belly of the big fish, we must ask Crocus for help. You know, Crocus is the one who built a holiday island in Laboon's belly. He is definitely a professional in this area. Bang, bang, bang. Hearing someone knocking on the door, Crocus, who was reading a book, said without even looking up, "The door is not locked, please come in." "Why do you have time to come to me? Is there anything I can help you with, Captain? What's the matter? Can't I just come and have some tea with you?" Ger came in with a teapot, smiling, poured Crocus a cup of hot tea, and then looked around the room. The room was brightly lit. The tables and shelves on the side were filled with a wide variety of medical equipment and various medicine bottles. It was neat and clean. There were also 2 pots of jasmine in front of the windowsill, which was very comfortable to look at. The only problem was that the room was a little small. Moria and Weeble probably couldn't even get in the door. Gale thought that he had to go to the 7 Water City as soon as possible to change the car. Crocus took off his reading glasses, picked up the cup and took a sip of tea, then said, "No one comes to visit you for no reason. I don't know you, Captain. This is your first time entering this room, right? If you have anything to say, just tell me directly." "Nothing much, they're all in training, I'm a little bored alone, so I want you to go treasure hunting with me." "Treasure hunt? Where to find treasure?" Crocus' eyes lit up when he heard this, and Gale immediately told him his thoughts, which aroused Crocus' interest. It's not that the old man is greedy for money, but he is simply interested in unknown adventures. With Crocus's strength and medical skills, as well as his reputation as the former pirates King Roger's personal ship doctor, he can get ahead in any force he joins. If he was really a money grubber, he would not choose to be an unpopular lighthouse keeper for decades. Crocus often chose to stay on the boat instead of going to the island. In addition to wanting to stay at home and study medical books, it was also because he had been to these islands before and there was nothing new about them. Men are animals who like novelty. Now, when he heard that they were going to search for treasure in the belly of the huge monster that had swallowed the island, the old man suddenly became excited and immediately took out his harpoon. Meow. Laboon jumped onto Gel's shoulder and rubbed Gel's cheek like a spoiled child. Crocus grabbed the cat by the scruff of the neck and lifted Laboon up, saying, "No, no, I can't take you with me. It's no use trying to act cute with the captain. Just stay at home." Meow. Seeing Laboon waving his front paws in resistance, Crocus said lovingly, "With your mediocre skills, you still want to defeat the monster? We are going to the belly of a big fish. Only cats eat fish. Who has ever heard of a fish eating a cat? It sounds unlucky. No, I can't take you." Laboon knew that he could not persuade this old father who doted on his child too much, so he could only turn to Captain Gale for help. Although Gale did not have the ability to listen to the voices of all things, nor did he have the skill of Crocus's friend of animals, he was still able to understand what the cat and the human were communicating. Especially when he saw Laboon's pitiful eyes, Gale's heart softened. All right, stop being overprotective. The young eagle needs to learn to spread its wings and fly. The flowers in the greenhouse can't stand the slightest bit of wind and rain. It's not like we're going through fire and water. It's not dangerous. If Laboon wants to go, take him with you. Maybe Laboon can help." Meow meow meow. After hearing what Ger said, Laboon meowed excitedly. Ger knew without translation that Laboon must be saying to Crocus, "That's right. The captain is wise and brave. The captain is right." Crocus couldn't stand the persuasion of the man and the cat and soon gave in. So Ger and Crocus set out on an adventure with Laboon. Chapter 79. The sky is cloudless and the sun is shining brightly. Today is also a rare sunny day. A large raft was floating on the calm sea, and on it an old man and a young man were fishing with fishing rods. Captain Gur, what's your plan? Are you just trying to trick me into coming out to bask in the sun with you?" Crocus put on his straw hat, looked at the empty blue sea, and asked with some doubt. "How could I not have a plan? This plan is called waiting for the rabbit to come." Gale answered confidently as he threw out the bait to bait the nest. "What? Come on, Captain. The ocean is vast. Even though this monster is quite large, isn't it like looking for a needle in a haystack to just sit there and wait? There's nothing I can do about it. I just know that this monster often appears in this sea area and likes to attack ships that want to leave. I don't know when it will appear. It's just like fishing. You have to be patient. Let's wait a little longer. Maybe it just happened to get up late today." After casting the fishing rod, Gale sat down on a small stool and spoke while drinking coconut juice. They said they were going to explore the belly of the island-eating monster, but where exactly was the island-eating monster? How to find it and make it swallow them both? In fact, Ger had no idea, so he simply thought of it as going out for sea fishing, which could both kill time and try his luck. They hoped that the monster goldfish would come to the island today and attack their raft. In order to let the island-eating monster see clearly, Gale and Crocus specially built a huge raft. Unfortunately, the two of them drifted on the sea for a whole morning, and they didn't see any island-eating monster, let alone any larger fish. This is a bit difficult. We don't know how long we have to wait like this. Captain, will this guy dislike our raft because it is too simple and does not look like a boat? Crocus looked thoughtful, stroking his beard as he analyzed seriously. Gale felt that what Crocus said made sense. You know, when the Straw Hat crew was about to leave Little Garden, Dory and Broggy both believed that the island-eating monster would definitely appear. They must have summed up some experience after staying on the island for 100 years, which meant that any ship that wanted to leave the island would almost certainly be attacked by this goldfish. How about we go and drive the boat over here? Ger said hesitantly. Although this ship was stolen from the pirates and I don't have any special feelings for it, I have lived here for so long that I have gotten used to it. If it is accidentally destroyed, it may be very troublesome to steal another more suitable one. Meow. Laboon suddenly shouted twice, then jumped off Gale's shoulder and jumped into the sea, giving Gale and Crocus no chance to stop him. Bang! The little cat turned into a huge whale over 100 meters in the air and dived into the sea. The splash after entering the water almost overturned Gel's raft. After finally stabilizing the raft in the rough sea, Ger turned to look at Crocus, who looked angry, and asked, "What is Laboon doing?" "This BD said he wanted to go down to the bottom of the sea to help us find the monster." "It's all your fault, Captain, for being too indulgent to it. Now that its wings have grown hard, it doesn't even listen to me." Seeing that Crocus was making a good effort to pass on the blame, Ger immediately became unhappy and retorted, "Uncle Crocus, you are really wronging me. You are the one who dotes on it the most. And Laboon has been ignoring you for a long time. Hasn't it never listened to you since it was little? When it was at Twin Cape, it kept crashing into the upside-down mountain, and you couldn't stop it no matter how hard you tried to persuade it. So this problem has nothing to do with me." Crocus blushed and thought, "Although there are no outsiders here, Captain, can you please give me some respect when you speak? What are you talking about?" Ahem. Crocus was speechless after hearing what Ger said and could only cough twice to cover up his embarrassment. Suddenly, the two people who were talking looked at each other in the same direction. "Here it comes." As soon as he finished speaking, a column of water appeared on the sea surface a few hundred meters ahead. It was the sea water sprayed out by Laboon when he breathed. "It's a really big guy. It's much bigger than I thought." Crocus couldn't help but sigh, and Ger nodded in reply. "It's ridiculously huge. It's much bigger than the average sea king. No wonder it can eat up islands and swallow up ships." Apparently, the two were not talking about Laboon, the island whale, but the monster following closely behind Laboon. Before he could finish his words, he saw a huge hemisphere bulging out of the sea behind Laboon. When the sea water receded, a huge round goldfish head appeared in front of them. This goldfish has red and white scales on its body, and most of its face is taken up by a huge mouth with square teeth in its mouth, which look a bit like humans' big teeth. It is estimated to be over 1,000 meters in size. A young island whale that is over 100 meters long instantly becomes a small fish or shrimp in front of it. In the original work, they were probably afraid that if the giant and other reference objects were drawn too small for comparison on the same screen, they would not be able to see them clearly, and if the island-eating monster was drawn too large, the screen would not be able to accommodate it. Therefore, Gale, who had always mistakenly believed that the island-eating monster was only a few hundred meters in size, was really shocked by the actual size of this guy. "Ha ha ha, that's right. How can I have the nerve to call myself that if I don't have that body shape?" Gale sighed as he looked at the huge goldfish monster in front of him. At this time, the island-eating monster was opening its mouth wide, chasing after Laboon, wanting to swallow it into its stomach in one gulp, so it had no intention of slowing down and was heading straight towards the raft. However, Laboon's speed was obviously much faster than that of this bulky creature, but Laboon deliberately controlled the distance, always swimming near the mouth of the island eater and slipping away from it. The island eater looked at the little whale that was so close in front of it, but it could never eat it, and it refused to give up and could only continue to chase it. Laboon sprinted to the raft, swung his thick whale tail vigorously, and jumped out of the water in an instant, about to hit the raft. Bang! Meow! After a burst of white smoke, Laboon changed its shape in the air, turned back into a kitten and gently landed in Gel's arms. Gale patted Laboon's head and said with a smile, "Ha ha ha, look how PD you off this big guy. But you really helped a lot, Laboon. If this operation is successful, you'll be credited as the first to succeed, and you'll get some dried fish as a reward when you go back." Laboon squinted his eyes and rubbed the fluff on his head against the palm of Ger's hand, barking happily. Looking at the island-eating monster rushing over with its mouth wide open, Ger felt that this scene should be accompanied by a song, and the title of the song was Big Fish. "Captain, be careful. Hold on tight." Captain Ger was still in a daze, so Crocus quickly reminded him. Ah! Amid Gel's rhythmic screams, the raft was swallowed by the gullet monster. The huge noise made everyone on the island several kilometers away stop what they were doing and turn to look over here. The big meal in his mouth was gone, and he only swallowed a few pieces of broken wood. The island eater was very dissatisfied. He closed his mouth and dived back into the water. Chapter 80. Gale and Crocus were finally eaten by the island-eating monster as they wished. Entering the goldfish's huge mouth and watching the 2 rows of huge teeth gradually closing behind him, Gale's heartbeat quickened and his adrenaline surged. Because he has the ability of prophecy and is always seeking stability, he always wants to control the overall situation when encountering any problem. He makes plans before taking action and cannot let the development of the situation go beyond his control. That is why, after being in this world for so long, this is the first time that Gale has felt the excitement brought by fantasy adventure. The time when we went upstream up upside down mountain didn't count, because there was no unknown. We were just worried about whether Weibul had enough energy. Boom! The two rows of big teeth collided with each other, making a loud noise. Gale only felt the light dim, and then the raft under him began to move towards deeper waters following the turbulent sea water. Captain, hold on tight, it's not over yet, it's about to enter the esophagus. The experienced Crocus reminded again. The passage gradually narrowed on both sides, but it was still a smooth road for Gale's small raft. The inner walls on both sides look as hard as rocks and are wrinkled, with a thick layer of mucous membrane attached to them. These are the characteristics of the esophagus of fish, which can expand the caliber of the esophagus and make it easier to swallow larger food. At first, Gale felt like a train entering a tunnel, which was relatively smooth, but he didn't expect it to suddenly turn into a roller coaster. Ah! The screams of the two echoed in the body of the esophagus monster. Gale screamed at the top of his lungs. This unprotected roller coaster was so thrilling. It was really not easy to have the chance to experience it once and to be able to survive it. Bang! The raft finally rushed out of the long tunnel, used inertia to draw a perfect parabola in the air, and then fell into a calm lake. The raft, which was not particularly sturdy to begin with, had already fallen apart. Gale and Crocus each stood on a piece of driftwood. A thin mist filled the water around them. The two men faced each other, giving a feeling of being in a martial arts movie. Gale looked up at the surroundings and spoke first. Crocus, why shouldn't the belly of this monster be pitch black? It's so bright here, it's really strange. Crocus thought about it and shook his head. I'm not sure about this. Maybe the cells in these animals glow. There's nothing strange about that. I discovered it when I entered Laboon's stomach before. The bodies of these large animals are all bright. Okay, what you said makes sense. Let's go. There's a small island over there. Let's go to the island first. Gale was no longer hesitant about it. In fact, the reason he could accept it more was of course because if the cartoonist drew nothing in the complete blackness and just filled in a few dialogue boxes, he would probably be beaten to death. Gale began to use moonwalk to head towards an island in the center of the lake. Crocus didn't care at all. He just jumped into the water and started swimming. Hey, Crocus, aren't you afraid that this isn't seawater but corrosive and smelly stomach acid? After the two of them got ashore at the same time, Ger looked at Crocus who walked out of the water wet and asked. Crocus took off his vest, twisted it, put it back on and said with a smile, it's okay. I've tried it. Stomach acid really can't hurt me. The most it can do is help me get rid of leg hair. Gale thought, if you can remove leg hair, then you can also remove hair all over your body. Without further asking the old pervert's question, Gale began to look at the small island in the middle of the lake, which might have survived due to the indigestion of the esophagus monster. The island is not big, and looks like a small round hill. There are many plants growing on the higher places, and it is lush and green. From a distance, you can see a few birds and some unknown insects hovering on the tops of the trees. Gale just felt it was very magical. You know, this is in the belly of a big goldfish. If you don't know, you would think it is a paradise. There are circles of ship wreckage piled up around the island. These ships are very old. Some of them are so old that you can tell they are not from this century just by looking at their shapes. Ahem. Let's split up and find all the valuable things. We must take everything away without leaving anything behind. He. Seeing that Captain Gill's eyes had turned into the shape of 2 copper coins, Crocus kindly reminded him, Captain, have you forgotten that our main purpose is to find the record pointer? Gale was stunned at first, then smiled awkwardly and said, Haha, how is that possible? How could I forget such an important thing? I am a person who puts the overall situation first. Alright, we have to act quickly. This place can't always be so peaceful and tranquil. Look at the corrosion marks on these rocks. There should be a wave of stomach acid coming here every once in a while. By then, these places will be flooded, and it will be difficult for us to search anymore. Crocus analyzed, rubbing his beard. Okay, let's get started. Split up, I'll go this way, you go that way. We'll meet at the other end after we've searched a circle. Okay. After saying this, the two of them immediately started to act. Seeing a round-bottomed sailboat, which looked like a merchant ship in terms of size and decoration, Gale walked forward and was about to go on board to take a look. However, as soon as he stepped on the deck, the entire deck collapsed, causing Gale to almost fall. These ships are very old and have been basically corroded after being washed countless times by corrosive liquids. The outer layer of wood will turn into powder instantly with just a little external force. Gale carefully made a hole in the side of the boat, mainly to avoid getting dust everywhere. When he walked into the cabin, he saw boxes of goods filling the room. Many of the boxes, along with the goods with an expiration date, had already rotted away, leaving only gold, silver, jewelry, porcelain, copper, aluminum products, and other non-corrosive items piled together in a mess. This saved Gale the time of searching for them himself. Gale didn't need to worry about carrying gold, silver, treasures, and ceramic antiques. He could just throw them all into the storage space. After searching for several ships in a row, Gale gained a lot, but he did not find any trace of the recording pointer. Hey! Kid! Even if you are picking up junk, you have to follow the first-come first-served rule. This is my territory. Just as Gale stepped onto the relatively new-looking pirate's ship, an old voice suddenly came to his ears. Gale looked in the direction of the voice and saw a little old man with frosty white hair, eyebrows, and beard walking out of the cabin. The old man was only about 1.2 meters tall, but his eyebrows and beard were 2 meters long, so that his eyebrows and beard dragged on the ground when he walked. Chapter 81. Gale looked at the little old man speaking in front of him with some surprise. Just as he was wondering how he could meet other people in the belly of this island-eating monster, he heard the old man continue what he had said, but it doesn't matter. There's nothing good on this ship anyway. If you want, come up and pick it up together. And chat with me. I've almost forgotten how long it has been since I last talked to anyone. By the way, kid, what's your name? Are you also trapped here after a shipwreck? Hey, you are such an unlucky guy. It's unfortunate for you to come here alive at such a young age. But it doesn't matter. You don't have to be afraid. Apart from the fact that you can't get out and it's a bit boring if you stay here for a long time, everything else is fine. You have food and drink, and at least you won't starve to death. Oh, I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Kili Pippi Mordred Marshalabun Lemon Sia. I'm afraid you can't remember me, so you can just call me Kili Pippi Mordred Marshalabun Lemon Sr. I'll take care of you from now on. Just as Ger was about to speak, the old man interrupted him and continued, Hey? Are you dumb? Oh, that's a pity. After a pause, he began to comfort himself again, but it doesn't matter. Don't worry, I won't despise you for being dumb. Just listen to me more when you can't speak anymore. What's up with this weird old man? Ger complained madly in his heart, why don't you give others a chance to speak? Come, let me introduce you. This is my son. His name is Kili Pippi, Mordred Martha, Laboon, Lyman Riggs. Just as Gale looked around, thinking there might be someone else, he saw the old man take out a palm-sized rhinoceros beetle from the cloth bag around his waist and said proudly, How is it? Riggs is handsome, isn't he? He is very strong, but unfortunately he is as unfortunate as you, trapped here at such a young age. You two can be good brothers in the future. You will have a companion when I am gone. Gale thought to himself, thank you so much, who would be bored enough to become sworn brothers with a bug? Gale rolled his eyes helplessly. Even he, who always respected the elderly and loved the young, couldn't help but want to use something to cover the old man's mouth. And let me tell you, this old man might have been trapped here alone for too long and was a little suffocated, so he kept talking to Gale in a non-stop manner. Bang! As the old man was talking, he suddenly fell to the ground with a thud, and his chattering mouth finally stopped. Gale was not panicked, and was even a little surprised. He felt that the whole world had suddenly become quiet. Hey, old man! What's wrong with you? Are you feeling uncomfortable? I didn't touch you, don't try to blackmail me. Gale walked forward and asked, finally having the chance to interrupt and say something. Ahemsia cleared her throat twice, straightened her breath, and then said, I'm fine, don't worry. I just talked too much in one breath and forgot to breathe, so I'm a little short of oxygen. Just let me calm down. Gale was completely speechless. His scalp was really broken by this old man. Hey, so you're not mute. That's great. Come and talk to me. What's your name? The old man suddenly reacted and asked happily. Hello, Senior Xia, my name is Ger, and I'm an explorer. How long have you been trapped here? Gale only remembered the two words Xia. As for the prefix in front of his name, which was longer than his eyebrows and beard, Gale forgot it all after hearing it. Hey, Gale boy, you asked a good question. Help me up quickly. Let me explain it to you slowly. The old man's face was full of joy. He finally found an opportunity to tell his story to others. He immediately struggled to get up from the ground. Gale had no choice but to reach out and help him up. Xia sat up cross-legged and began to tell about his wonderful past. It was a night of thunder, lightning, wind, and rain. The hurricane created waves over 20 meters high that hit the poor ship wantonly. The large merchant ship of dozens of meters was as small and fragile as a leaf on the sea. I remember that our merchant ship encountered a storm on the way to Grand Line Teku Island. We met a ship and wanted to follow it in case it capsized, we could be rescued. But when we got closer, we found that it was a super large warship with a white skull flag hanging on the mast. What was even more terrifying was that the pirates on the ship were all giants more than 10 meters tall. Some were even more than 20 meters tall. At that time, all of us on the ship were scared. In order to escape from the ship, the captain decisively ordered the rudder to turn right and rush into the center of the storm at full speed. Fortunately, the enemy was busy dealing with the storm and did not chase us, so we were lucky enough to escape. Ger nodded, guessing that they must have encountered the giant pirates from Elbaf at that time. Even though a long time had passed, when Xia recalled the scene again, there was still a look of fear on his face and his body was trembling slightly. One can imagine how much shock he had felt when he saw that entire ship of giants. And then? Ger asked curiously. After a pause, Xia continued, later, I felt a violent shaking in the cabin, and then the boat fell apart. The sea water quickly washed us apart. When I woke up again, I found myself on this island, and I was alone. At first I didn't know where this place was. I tried to leave here on a raft countless times, but this place is surrounded by flesh walls. From time to time, new ship wreckage and soil blocks appear, so I guess this is most likely in the stomach of a monster. Gale nodded in agreement. Yes, Senior Xia, you guessed it right. This is a giant goldfish monster that feeds exclusively on islands and ships. Ha ha ha, yeah, I told you it must have been swallowed by the monster, but you didn't believe me, Riggs, haha. Xia spoke happily to the rhinoceros beetle in his hand, but the rhinoceros beetle just shook its head, trying only to break free from his hand, and didn't listen to him at all. Chapter 82. Xia looked at Gale, who was as young as he once was. He seemed to miss his youth and felt sorry for Gale. He stroked his long silver beard and asked, I have been living in this place since I encountered that shipwreck. It is always bright here, there is no distinction between day and night, and there is no concept of time. So I don't remember exactly how many years I have lived here, I just know it has been a very, very long time. I was 15 years old when the merchant ship was wrecked. That year was 1420 in the Sea Circle calendar. Because that year our country's football team won the World League Championship for the first time, I still remember it very clearly. By the way, Gale boy, what year is it outside now? Senior Xia, it is now the year 1498 of the Sea Circle calendar. Gale thought about it and answered, while being extremely shocked. I didn't expect that this old man has been trapped here for 78 years. It's hard to imagine how he survived. Gale suddenly felt that he could understand why the old man kept talking after meeting him. That was 78 years. Nearly 30,000 days of being alone, without even a single person to talk to. Ger thought it was a rare thing that he hadn't gone insane. Haha, so much time has passed. I thought it was only a dozen years. Hearing this result, Xia smiled heartily and looked up at the sky in a daze. Ger admired the other party's optimistic spirit very much. Perhaps it was this optimistic spirit that kept him alive until now. After a long time, Xia gradually withdrew his gaze. He sat casually on the deck, waved his hand to Gale and said, Ger, come over here and sit down. I think you and I are very compatible. I must have a good chat with you today. Ger really wants to ask, have you ever asked me if I want to? But he still came and sat down next to Xia obediently. After Gale sat down, Xia took out a piece of white cloth from his arms and carefully opened it with his skinny hands. He saw that the cloth was wrapped with a large black pancake. Crack! Xia used both hands to break the cake into 2 halves. Just by the sound, he knew that the cake must be dry and hard. The old man handed the larger half to Gale and said, "Boy, you must be hungry. Come, eat something first." "Thanks." Gale didn't want to let the old senior down, so he reached out to take the pie and put it in his mouth and took a bite. The taste was very ordinary and the texture was terrible, but he was a little surprised that it was actually a meat pie. "It tastes good. What kind of meat is used to make this pancake?" "Senior Xia." Gale calmly put the remaining meat patties into the system space, pretended to have eaten them in a few big bites, and then made some polite remarks to save his face. Turning around, he saw the old man eating very carefully, with one hand still near his chin, refusing to waste any leftovers. Gale felt a little ashamed for wasting the old man's precious food. Xia was praised and a happy smile immediately appeared on his old face. While savoring the meat pie in his hand, he replied, "Hey, you mean this black meat pie? It's made of mosquito meat. I caught it with a net on the island. It's not easy to catch so many and knead them into pie. How is it? Is it delicious? I'll teach you how to make it later." Okay, delicious. So delicious. Vomit." Gale turned around and spit out all the meat patties he had eaten, then quickly took out some water to rinse his mouth, and then he felt much better. "I never thought that I would have the chance to taste the legendary African mosquito cake in Otherworld. I am so grateful." Reciprocity. Gale bought 2 Rigiamo directly from the system mall and handed them to Xia. "Senior Xia, thank you for giving me half of your precious meat pie. You probably can't eat enough by yourself. Come, I have some pie here too. Try it." "Oh, it's still hot and smells so good." Xia was a little curious, but he didn't argue with Gale, because the aroma of the cake had made him drool. The old man took the Rigiamo and took a small bite, because he was used to eating hard mosquito cakes, and it would easily break his teeth if he took a big bite. After just one bite, the old man completely lost the ability to express himself. What he wanted to express was, "This pancake is completely different from the mosquito pancake. The outer crust is crispy and dry, while the inner crust is fluffy and soft. The pancake is crispy on the outside and tender on the inside. You can smell the fragrance of wheat before you put it in your mouth. The meat filling in the middle is braised with a variety of spices and is very tasty. The meat is fat but not greasy. The combination of the two is really wonderful." In fact, Xia just stared with his eyes, muttering something and gesticulating at Gale for a long time, but he didn't say a word that Gale could understand. Seeing that he finished a Rigiamo in just a few bites, Gale handed him the one in his hand, then took out a bottle of mineral water and said, "Hey, please eat slowly. Come, drink some water first, or you'll choke." Gale really felt sorry for this old man. He was only 15 years old, the most precious youth in life, but he was trapped here alone for his whole life. He had not seen anyone for nearly 80 years. If it were an ordinary person, he would have completely collapsed and committed suicide. And what kind of shit did he eat every day? Fate was too cruel to this old man. Gudong burp. After finishing 2 Rigiamo in one breath, Xia licked his fingers, drank half a bottle of water, and burped with satisfaction. "I'm sorry, Gale boy, I accidentally ate your whole piece of cake. It was so delicious. I'll go look for bird eggs later and catch some mosquitoes to make you a cake. I'll make sure you fill your stomach." Just then he realized that he had eaten Gale's portion as well. Xia said a little embarrassedly, when he heard Xia wanted to feed him cake, Gale quickly refused. "No need, Senior Xia, I'm full. If you're not full, just tell me. I have more. By the way, boy Gale, where did you get this cake from? I saw that you had nothing in your hands, so how did you suddenly have such a delicious cake in your hands?" After hearing Gale say that he was still not full, Xia couldn't help but ask curiously. Having been away from the deceitful human society for too long, Xia never thought about the dangers of society and the ways of the world. He just said what he wanted to say and didn't think that asking others about their secrets directly was a taboo. "Hey, Senior Xia, I actually ate the paramecia pancake fruit, and I am a demon fruit power. I can create a lot of delicious pancakes with just a simple stroke of my hand." Gale made up a random excuse, not even worried that his nose would grow more and more like Usopp. "Devil fruit? You mean the cursed fruit, right? You're someone who walks on the sea, how dare you eat that?" Xia was a little surprised. Based on Gale's description, he could understand what he was talking about. Chapter 83. Xia knew what the devil fruit that Gale was talking about was. It might just be called differently in different places. In his hometown, people called this strange fruit, which would give people some special abilities after eating it but would completely lose the ability to swim, the cursed fruit. In their place, all those who make a living at sea dare not eat devil fruit. It is not only because they are afraid of losing the ability to swim, but there is another more important reason, which is superstition. They firmly believe that the reason why people who have eaten this fruit become unable to swim is because they are hated by the sea. Once such people go out to sea, they will be plagued by bad luck and will most likely encounter a shipwreck and die. Therefore, in the inherent cognition of West Asia, people who go out to sea to make a living cannot eat devil fruit. Hey, Senior Xia, times have changed a long time ago. Now everyone is flocking to the devil fruit in the sea, which is what you call the cursed fruit. It is a symbol of power, and each one can be auctioned for a very high price. Ger explained with a smile. Oh? Really? It seems that things are really different from my time. The two chatted for a while, and Gale thought that the old man was quite nice. After thinking for a while, he asked, Senior Xia, do you want to go out? I actually have a way to take you away from here. When Xia heard Gale say that he could take him away from the place that had trapped him for his entire life, he was stunned at first, but the expression on his face remained calm, without showing any happiness or excitement, which surprised Gale a little. After thinking carefully for a while, Xia finally sighed and said, forget it. Thank you for your kindness, Gale boy. When I was first trapped here, I tried every way to escape every day. Even though I failed every time, I never got discouraged and would try other methods the next day. But over time, I got used to life here and now I even think it's pretty good here. I didn't expect so many years to have passed in the blink of an eye. I am already an old man in my 90s. My relatives and friends outside are probably no longer alive. Now I am alone whether I go out or not. Life outside may no longer be suitable for me. So forget it. I don't have many years left to live anyway. I've lived here for so long that I've already considered this place my home. I can't bear to leave this home. Leaving here will make me feel uneasy. Just thinking about it now makes me panic. Gale nodded silently, thinking that the old man saw things very clearly. He had been away from human society for too long and might have long forgotten how treacherous people are. Going out might not be a good thing for him, so Gale stopped trying to persuade him. By the way, Gale boy, if you really have a way to get out, please help me take Riggs out. He is different from me, he is still young. Xia thought for a moment and added. After saying that, he stuffed Riggs in his arms into Ger's hands. Gale looked at the huge rhinoceros beetle in his hand helplessly, and simply chose to ignore its individual feelings, and said to the old man, Senior Xia, I actually have the ability to listen to the voices of animals. Riggs just told me that it doesn't want to leave here. It said that it also regards this place as its home and you as its only relative. It can't bear to leave you, so it asked me to let it stay with you. Really? My dear Riggs. Thank you so much. You are indeed my good son. You are so filial. Woohoo, I am so touched. All right. Then you can stay with me. We will never be separated. Xia was a simple-minded man who had no idea what a white lie was. He hugged Riggs and kissed him hard a few times. As a result, the big beetle got angry and bit him back. Xia cried out in pain but smiled even more happily, thinking that this was a response of his little baby to his love. A long time. Xia suddenly looked at Gale and asked, by the way, when are you planning on leaving, Gale boy? Gale knew that he would be reluctant to leave, but he still answered truthfully, soon, maybe later, or tomorrow. To be honest, I came here specifically to look for something. After searching here, whether I find what I'm looking for or not, I will leave. My friends and family are waiting for me outside. After saying that, Gale looked at Xia and found that the smile on the old man's face was less and more sad. Yes, he has been trapped for 78 years and just met someone to chat with, but he has to say goodbye again soon. How can he be happy? However, since it was his own decision to stay, Xia naturally would not ask Gale to stay or request him to stay for a while to chat with him. I see. Xia stroked her eyebrows and said in a bad tone, I say, Ger boy, this is where you are wrong. Just when Gale thought that the old man was going to blame him for not staying with him for a while, Xia continued, Ger, you are so mean. This is my territory. I know every flower and plant on the island like the back of my hand. No one knows it better than me. You didn't even tell me what you were looking for. Seriously, as long as it's on this island, I promise I can find it for you. Xia said this with such confidence that his beard almost stood up to the sky. Gale slapped his forehead. That's right. Why didn't I think of it? There is a native right in front of me, but I didn't use it. I was looking for it here for a long time. Ha ha ha, I'm sorry. It was indeed my mistake. I actually forgot about you, Senior Xia. It's okay, it's okay. Just tell me what you're looking for. I'll take care of it. Flattery works very well for this old man. Gale then said somewhat embarrassedly, Senior Xia, I'm actually here to look for the record pointer and see if I can get some gold treasures. Do you know where I can find them? Xia frowned and asked with some doubt, Of course I know. It's not something rare. I thought it was something else. But the pointer is fine. What do you want gold for? It's heavy and you can't eat it. It will be inconvenient for you to carry it with you, right? Haha, Senior Xia, don't worry about this. I have my own way to take it away. I can take away as much as I want. Gold may not be of much use here, but it is hard currency outside. The more the better. As soon as he heard the old man's tone, Gale knew that the matter was settled. He could hardly contain his excited heart and trembling hands. Xia's brows relaxed, and he suddenly realized, yes, if you hadn't told me, I would have almost forgotten that gold is a treasure in the outside world. Come with me. Chapter 84. Then Gale followed Xia, and the two of them walked towards the small hill in the center of the island. After a while, Gale was brought by the old man to a small cave halfway up the mountain. This is a naturally formed rock cave, which is quite spacious inside, estimated to be about 20 to 30 square meters. The ground is 2 meters high from the stone wall above. People can walk around in the cave without bending over, so it is very suitable for living. But Israel's height is so high that he doesn't even have to lower his head even if there is a 1.2 meter ceiling, let alone 2 meters. As soon as he entered the cave, Gale saw a table made of tree stumps on the left, on which were placed some pots, pans, and miscellaneous daily necessities. On the right was a simple stone bed covered with hay. Apart from these, there was nothing else in the cave. It was obvious that this was Xia's residence. After Xia entered the house, he first put down his gains of the day, 2 dirty leather jackets and a beret worn by a woman. Boy, this way. Just as Gale was visiting the old man's living environment, Xia had already walked deeper into the cave and signaled Gale to catch up. Here I come. Gale followed Xia and turned 2 corners and passed through a relatively narrow aisle. Before he walked out of the passage, Gale saw a flash of golden light at the exit of the aisle, which made it impossible to open his eyes. After exiting the cave, the view suddenly became clear. I didn't expect that there was a bigger cave behind this small cave. The space inside is much larger than the cave outside. It is at least as big as a standard basketball court, and is about 5 to 6 meters away from the top stone wall. The space was large, but also very crowded, because the entire cave was filled with things. More than 3/4 of the space was filled with treasures, most of which was gold, and there were also quite a few valuable things such as gems, pearls, agates, and jade. It could be said that there was everything. Even though it was covered with dust, it still couldn't stop the treasure from shining brightly, and it was this jewels and gems that illuminated the entire cave. The remaining space was not idle, it was filled with all kinds of sundries. Obviously, all the things here were collected bit by Xia from those shipwrecks over the years. Haha, what do you think, Gale? Feel free to take whatever you want from this pile of stuff. Even better if you can help me move it all out. I think it's a bit of a nuisance to have all these things piled here. Xia pointed at the pile of gold treasures and said, then without paying attention to Gale who was in a daze, he walked to the place where miscellaneous items were piled nearby and began to search through them. Gale looked at the pile of gold in front of him, his eyes began to sparkle, and he almost shot out lasers. Why do I have the illusion that this is the golden country? Gale shook his head to clear himself up. In fact, if you think about it carefully, it is not surprising that there is so much gold in the stomach of this esophageal goldfish. This guy must have existed for a long time. It has eaten countless ships over the past few hundred years, and the treasures accumulated in its stomach are immeasurable. These are just what the old man Xia has collected. The actual amount must be far more than that. Senior Xia, did you move all these back? Gear was a little surprised, not only because of the amount of gold, but also because he was curious about how this old man had collected so much at home. Yes, I was young and strong at that time. When I first came here, I saw so much gold and treasure on the sunken ships. I thought I was lucky and had encountered a pie in the sky. I moved gold into the cave like crazy, imagining that one day I could live a good life with this amazing wealth. I never thought that I would never be able to get out, nor did I consider how to take all this stuff with me even if I could get out. Every day, I only knew to move gold into the cave except for eating and sleeping. Ha 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 ha. Now it seems that I was so stupid. Xia smiled self-deprecatingly. Later I realized that this was not pie in the sky, but a mouse falling into a rice warehouse. No, 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 I am worse off than a mouse falling into a rice warehouse. Although I am trapped as well, at least the mouse has endless rice to eat, while this pile of garbage is of no use to me and is not even as valuable as that half bag of nuts. Xia pointed to the place closest to the aisle entrance, where a small sack of nuts of many kinds was placed. This should be the precious food he stored for emergency use. Later, as I got older, I no longer had the energy to clean them out, so I just left them there. Senior Xia. You are so awesome. After listening to Xia's feelings, Gale also had some insights in his heart, but not much. As the saying goes, one person's trash may become another person's treasure, so Gale decided to help Xia clean up this pile of garbage. Because he now has the gold fruit in his hand, Gale will intentionally keep some of the gold unless he is really short of money. Gale estimated in his mind that this pile of treasure would require a space of at least 200 to 300 cubic meters. Don't ask how I calculated it. A standard basketball court is 28 meters by 15 meters, 3/4 of which is about 300 square meters. Since this pile of treasures is in the shape of a pyramid, the height is about 1.5 meters, which is 450 cubic meters. And because there will definitely be many gaps when these treasures are piled together, the volume of the treasures is multiplied by 0.5, and the result is more than 200 cubic meters. Anti-gank, son, expand the system space. Gale kept poking at the plus sign behind the space capacity on the pop-up system interface. Watching the balance number flashing continuously, Gale truly experienced what it meant to spend money like water. Fortunately, the system had a change of heart and the activation price for the first 100 cubic meters was 10 million Baileys per cubic meter. After 100, it became 1 million Baileys per cubic meter. After 1000, it was discounted to 100,000 Baileys per cubic meter. And so on, after 10,000, it would be 10,000 Baileys per cubic meter. Ding! 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 The more Gale clicked, the cheaper he felt it was, and the more excited he became. He almost practiced the 6-style finger pistol on the spot, completely unaware that he had completely fallen into the consumption trap of the system. By the time he reacted, Gale realized that he had spent 2.8 billion Baileys to open up 10,000 cubic meters of system space. Gale refused to admit that he was an irrational overspender. He could only force an explanation. 2.8 billion was just a drop in the bucket compared to the treasure in front of him. Gale tried to let the system recycle a cubic volume of gold and found that the system's recycling price for 1 cubic volume of gold was about 400 million Bailey. Based on this price, the total value of this pile of treasure is conservatively estimated to be more than 80 billion Bailey. The bag of gold that the Straw Hat Pirates took away from Sky Island was worth 300 million Baileys. Haha, this wave really made a fortune. As expected, good people will be rewarded. It's not that there is no retribution, it's just that the time has not come yet. Gale almost laughed out loud, and he didn't care about anything else. He jumped into the ocean of gold and collected all the gold treasures in the cave into the system space. Chapter 85. Hey? What's going on? Xia, who was rummaging through boxes, felt that the light in the cave suddenly dimmed. He stuck his head out of a large box that was almost taller than him. What? The scene before him made him open his mouth wide and he couldn't utter a word for a long time. He saw that the cave was empty. The pile of gold and treasures that he had hoarded for who knows how many years had all disappeared. How long had it been? Hey, kid, how did you do this? As Xia said this, he rushed to Gale's side and touched the ground which was originally piled with gold to confirm that what he saw was not an illusion and that all the gold treasures had really disappeared. Ha ha ha, Senior Xia, don't panic. This is the innate magical power of our race. It's called the Sleeve of Secrets. It can make things as small as sand and then put them away. Gale began to talk nonsense again and wantonly deceive the old, young, women and children. Xia was very shocked and asked with envy, "Awesome, awesome, really awesome. What race are you from, Gale? Your magical powers are incredible, right? How can you know everything? I'm so envious. If I had your ability to do everything, it would be much easier for me to go out and pick up junk." Click. Gale staggered and almost fell. He didn't know what to say to this old man. His first reaction with such awesome skills was to use them to pick up junk? Ahem. Gale cleared his throat and said mysteriously, "Senior Xia, I will only tell you this secret. Actually, my race is Han. Han nationality? I've never heard of it, but it sounds very mysterious." Xia imitated Gale and read the noun, which he thought had a strange pronunciation. "Senior Xia, you have been here for too long and you may not have heard of it. We Han people are very powerful, but it is a pity that I am the only Han in the world," Gale said with both pride and a little loneliness. However, when Xia heard this, he thought that it was because the race's innate ability was too strong and was coveted by others, which led to something bad happening to Gale's race. He whispered to Gale, "Don't worry, Ger, I will keep your race a secret for you. Let's not talk about this anymore. Come on, I got you the record pointers you asked for. They are all here. Check for yourself to see if there is anything you can use," Xia said as he dragged over a large box. "That's great. I'll do the moving." All the gold, silver, and treasures in the cave had been looted, and Gale finally had the mind to think about the main goal of this trip, finding the record pointer. I was a little curious why the old man didn't just take out the pointer directly, but instead went through so much trouble to drag an entire big box. Although he didn't understand, Deer still ran forward to help. After lifting the box out, he saw a box full of record pointers as soon as he opened it. Gale exclaimed in his heart, "Wow, this is a wholesale business, right?" After a careful inspection, there are 72 pointers in total, of which 65 are ordinary record pointers, all pointing to the same direction, which is different from the direction pointed by the pointer on Gale's hand. It should be the direction of the next stop. In addition, there are 7 permanent pointers pointing to 4 different islands, 3 of which are repeated. Gale looked at the text above and found that he recognized most of these islands, which are Zongguo Diao Island, Magnetic Drum Kingdom, Alabasta, and Gaia Island. The Zongguo Diao Island is also the direction pointed by all the recording pointers. It should be the next island on this route. In the original book, the Straw Hat crew went to the Magnetic Drum Kingdom for medical treatment because Nami was sick, so they didn't make the trip. Ha ha ha, it's useful. These are very useful. They really help a lot. You are really worthy of being called Senior Xia. I don't know how to thank you." Gale put the box away and encouraged the old man by putting his arm around his shoulder. He, it's just a small matter, it doesn't matter. From the first time I saw you, I felt that you and I are very compatible. It's okay if I can help you. Don't be polite to me." Although Xia was talking about trivial matters, his face was full of pride. The pile of junk he had collected before finally came in handy today, which made him feel a sense of accomplishment. The key was that Gale spoke so nicely and made him feel happy. "That won't do. You've spent so much effort to collect these things. How can I just take them for free? Just sit back and watch me perform." As Gale spoke, he walked to the side and waved his right hand in the air. Suddenly, a pile of rice and flour appeared on the ground, and bags of them were stacked up high. "Ah, this? What is this?" Xia hurriedly ran forward, opened one of the bags, and grabbed a handful of white rice in disbelief. "Ha ha ha ha! It's rice! It's rice!" The old man's hands were shaking with excitement, and rice grains were slipping through his fingers. He wanted to hold on tightly, but the tighter he held on, the faster the rice ran away. He quickly reached his hand back into the bag to prevent the good food from falling to the ground and being wasted. "Ha ha ha ha!" Xia shouted excitedly, he hadn't seen this thing in decades. The old man didn't say a word, just stuffed a handful of raw rice into his mouth and chewed it dry, and gave a thumbs up and said it was delicious. The corners of Gale's mouth curled up slightly, but his hands did not stop moving. Ding! Purchase, iodized salt 1 kg times 100, successful. Ding! Purchase, mixed dried beans 10 kg times 100, successful. Ding! Purchase, mixed nuts 10 kg times 100, successful. Ding! Purchase successful. Gale bought all the long-lasting foods and selected quantities of 100 for all of them. It didn't matter if there were more, as they were all foods that could be stored for a long time and provide sufficient nutrition, as well as emergency dry food. Including grains, such as rice, flour, dried beans, such as anko, black beans, soybeans, etc., dried fruits, such as raisins, dried blueberries, nuts, such as walnuts, almonds, stored salt, honey, pickled foods, such as bacon, ham, pickled mustard, sauerkraut, canned foods, such as canned fish, canned fruit, etc., tea, etc. Next came daily necessities, common medicines, and some vegetable and fruit seeds. In short, as long as he could think of or see anything, Gale would buy it all. Enough. Enough, oh. It's really enough. Gale boy. Stop it quickly. Ouch, it's really enough. Xia looked at the increasing amount of food and daily necessities piling up in the cave, and he went from being excited at first to being completely numb later. Chapter 86. Soon, there was no more space left in the entire cave to store things. Gale stopped in time, looked back at the full warehouse of supplies, admired his masterpiece, and nodded with satisfaction. These things should be enough for this old man to eat for decades. Xia, who was standing by, had already shouted until he was exhausted. He collapsed on the ground, stretched out his palm to Geer, and cried out in tears, "That's enough. I can't bear to part with this." Gale walked a few steps to the old man, stretched out his hand to help him up, and said with a smile, all right, let's stop it. Hurry up and wipe your tears. You should be happy. If others don't know, they will think I did something to you. Ger boy. This is really too expensive. There is no way I can finish all this. Xia stared blankly at the cave full of precious supplies in front of him, and it took him a long time to come back to his senses. It's okay. You're a long-lived man, at least 200 years old. You will definitely be able to finish it. Gale was about to say live a long life, but when he thought that the old man was already over 90 years old, saying live a long life didn't seem like a good thing to say, so he changed his words temporarily. Hey, how can this person live that long? You always pick out nice things to say. There are really too many of them. Such good things, I'm afraid I'll waste them. Ha ha ha, not much. Compared to what I got from you, this amount of supplies is nothing. I also felt that we were destined to be together the first time I saw you. There's no need for us to be polite to each other. What Gale said was sincere. Even though he bought a lot of things, the money he actually spent was less than 100 million Baileys. Come on, kid. I'll go to the kitchen and cook. We'll have a good meal today. I've even forgotten what white rice tastes like. I can't wait. Xia didn't say anything more. He picked out a few ingredients and packed a small bag of rice. He then pulled Gale outside and prepared to cook a table of food to celebrate their meeting. Halfway through the walk, Xia suddenly stopped, slapped his thigh and said, "Oh, look at my memory, how could I forget that thing?" After saying that, he walked back. Gale didn't understand why, so he could only follow him to see what was going on. Arriving at the entrance of the passage, Xia took out a small box from the bag of nuts that was previously the most valuable in the cave and handed it to Gale, saying proudly, "Hey kid, I'll give you this too. People say this thing tastes terrible. I was thinking that since it won't go bad, I can save it and eat it to satisfy my hunger when I have nothing to eat." Gale had guessed most of what was inside the box after hearing what he said. He excitedly stretched out his hands to take the box. After opening it, he was surprised to find two strange fruits with special patterns lying quietly inside the box. After the two came out of the passage, Xia was making a fire beside the earth pit to prepare a feast, and soon smoke began to rise from the cave. Gale sat on a large blue stone at the entrance of the cave, crossed his legs, and took out a box containing two devil fruits. The light was too dim in the cave just now and it was a little difficult to see clearly. Now that he was outside, Gale couldn't wait to take it out and check it. The devil fruit on the left is dark brown in color with regular hexagonal textures evenly distributed on it. The surface texture is a bit like the matte paint of a car. The one on the right is red in color, but if you look closely, you will find that the surface is not smooth, but is made up of small red bumps, just like a giant bayberry. Gale thought to himself, I have a system, why should I observe anything? Bite. Unknown devil fruit detected, automatically analyzing, bite. Analysis successful, Zoan. Turtle fruit. Galapagos tortoise form, analysis successful, Zoan. Ancient species of the bug fruit. Meganura dragonfly form, Gel's smile widened, and he was very satisfied with the result of the identification. Although both were the most common Zoan, one of them was an ancient species, and a rare devil fruit with the ability to fly. Gel had no idea what kind of dragonfly the Meganura was, but as long as it was a dragonfly, its flying ability alone was among the best among all flying creatures. It was a well-deserved aerial acrobat. I thought it was a bayberry, but now I see that its shape should symbolize the compound eyes of an insect. Gel put away the big bayberry, took the black-brown turtle fruit in his hand, and decomposed it with his mind. Ding! Decomposition successful. Gained ability, ultra-low metabolism. Human beast form, Ultra-low metabolism. Galapagos tortoises can survive for 18 months without food and water. When food is scarce, the consumer can enter a state of ultra-low metabolism, using extremely low energy consumption to prolong vital signs under extreme conditions. Usage, oral. Human animal form. Galapagos tortoises are recognized as one of the longest-lived animals. When they transform into tortoise-human form, their defense is greatly enhanced and their speed is greatly reduced. If the user maintains this state for a long time, their lifespan can be greatly extended. Usage, oral. Senior Xia. After reading the description of these two abilities, Gel ran over to explain the situation to Xia without saying a word and asked him to swallow the 2 pills. How is it? Do you feel anything different? Ger inquired curiously. I feel my legs are no longer sore and my waist doesn't hurt anymore. Like the devil fruit, after eating it, the eater will know what abilities they have gained and how to use them. I saw Xia's back began to bulge, and slowly turned into a black-brown tortoise shell with a metallic matte luster. His limbs and neck also became much longer. His original height of 1.2 meters grew to about 1.6 meters after the transformation. His whole temperament also became mature and steady, and he did things calmly. Coupled with the old man's very unique long silver-white eyebrows and long beard, he already looked like an immortal hermit. How? Will it look weird? Xia asked, even her speaking speed was half a beat slower. Hey? Wait. Gel also bought a pair of flip-flops, a set of loose beach pants and a floral shirt from the system mall. Finally, he specially picked out a wooden crutch with a spherical nodule on the head and a pair of round-frame sunglasses. Because there was a big turtle shell on Xia's back, Gear took out a pair of scissors and made some simple modifications to the shirt. Okay, done. After arranging a full set of equipment for Xia, Gel couldn't help but nodded. The Pirates King version of Rashi-sensei Ginseng is here. Gel took out a big mirror and let Xia look at himself. When the old man saw how handsome he was in the mirror, a shy smile of satisfaction appeared on his face. Chapter 87. Seeing the old man showing off in front of the mirror for a long time, Gel found it a little funny. Just like women find it difficult to accept going out without makeup once they are used to it, the same is true for men. Gel feels that this little old man should always maintain the image of the handsome Master Rashi from now on. Senior Xia, what are you cooking? I seem to smell something burning. My dish. Xia then remembered that the food was still being cooked on the Kong. He wanted to run back to the kitchen in a hurry, but due to the influence of his ability, he became unhurried again in the next second and moved slowly. Gel had no choice but to go into the kitchen and make a few side dishes himself. Otherwise he would have to wait for Xia to cook a meal and might not be able to eat for a while. Hey. The two of them were talking and laughing, and joyful sounds could be heard from the cave from time to time. It's just that Xia's laughter was drawn out and sounded a little weird. The other side of the island. Ah! Where are you, record pointer? Crocus and Laboon were moving through the abandoned ships in a dusty state. Laboon walked and stopped, with his 2 triangular ears erected. He lowered his head to sniff from time to time, and searched carefully with his paws, not willing to miss any place. He seemed very serious and reliable. Suddenly, a small beetle hiding under the wooden board jumped out and successfully attracted Laboon's attention. It pounced and pressed the beetle into the soil. Ding-ling-clang. Crocus walked in front, holding a wooden stick in his hand, bending over and searching, with a large bag on his back. With every step he took, the bag made a crisp sound of metal knocking. It was obvious that the bag was filled with gold, silver, and treasures that Captain Gale had instructed him to collect. Even the cows in the production team didn't dare to be used like this. He was about 50 years old, but fortunately he was still strong, otherwise he really wouldn't be able to do such physical work. Hey, Laboon, stop playing, we need to find a record pointer. This is the thing. If you see one that looks like this, remember to pick it up. Crocus said as he waved the record pointer in his hand towards Laboon. Meow. Laboon barked to show that he understood, and then chased another bug into the wreckage of a small boat. Crocus took a look at the ship and thought it was too small, so he did not follow Laboon in to look for it. He continued to walk forward to look for the target, muttering to himself, "Damn it! The captain tricked me into doing hard labor again. I've been searching for a long time and found a lot of unimportant gold and treasures, but the most important record pointer is still missing. Alas, I don't know what's going on with Captain Ghoul. There are so many gold, silver, and jewels here. I hope the captain doesn't forget his business." Cheers! Gale and Xia clinked their glasses and drank the drinks in them. Crocus didn't know that the captain he was worried about not only completed the task perfectly, but was also enjoying his snacks and drinks, looking very happy. Come on, Senior Xia, don't be polite, eat more dishes and try my cooking skills." Gear completely took the initiative and enthusiastically put the food into Xia's bowl. "Don't be so polite, I can do it myself, you eat it." Xia put a piece of green pepper into her mouth and immediately squinted her eyes with enjoyment. "Delicious. I haven't eaten fresh vegetables in a long time. Haha, if it tastes good, eat more. Laboon. Let's go." After searching another ship, Crocus came out of the cabin. When he found that Laboon had not returned yet, he turned around and shouted in the direction they came from. After calling several times, he still didn't see Laboon and didn't hear any response. Even though he knew there shouldn't be anything here that could threaten Laboon's safety, Crocus still couldn't help feeling a little worried. Bang! He put down the big bag of gold, silver, and jewelry on his back and ran quickly to the small boat he had just seen Laboon get into. Crocus kicked the wooden board violently, rushed into the hold and shouted anxiously, "Laboon! Where are you?" Meow. After a while, he finally heard a cat's meow from below. Hearing this sound, Crocus finally calmed down, released his clenched fists and let out a long sigh. Then we saw Laboon, covered in mud, jumping out of a pit holding a small sack in his mouth. His grey and white fur had completely turned pure black. "Where have you been? You didn't respond even after I called you for so long. Do you know how worried I am?" Like many parents, Crocus couldn't help but lose his temper after worrying about his child. Meow. Laboon wagged his tail in grievance and ran to Crocus' feet, rubbing against them, and smeared all the mud on his body on his old father's trouser legs. "Damn it! UBD! Are you admitting your mistake or seeking revenge?" Crocus was so angry that he was fuming, but he was helpless. He couldn't bear to hit him, so he could only shake his legs to get rid of the mud on his pants. Crocus thought to himself, "Laboon has become more and more naughty since he went out to sea with me. He must have learned it from Captain Gale. As the saying goes, birds of a feather flock together. I must discipline him well when we get back. I absolutely cannot let Laboon become like the captain." Hachu! Gale sneezed and blew his nose casually, not realizing that he had become a negative example for other people to educate their children while eating his meal. Meow. Laboon put down the small bag he was holding in his mouth. "What? You said you found the record pointer." Crocus's face immediately turned from gloomy to bright. He squatted down, picked up the sack, untied the bow, and took out a crystal glass ball from it. "It's the record pointer." Crocus took out his own pointer for comparison and found that they were pointing in a different direction. "Ha ha ha, well done, Laboon. The captain will definitely reward you when we get back. This is the pointer to the completed record we're looking for." "Great, let's go, let's meet up with the captain right away, and then we can prepare to leave this damn place." After Crocus finished speaking, he carefully put away the pointer, then picked up Laboon and put him on his shoulder, and went back to take the bag of treasure. After all, this bag of treasure was the result of his hard work for half a day, so he would definitely not forget to take it away and let it go to waste. The man and the cat walked around the island and returned to the place where they started out, but they did not meet Captain Gale. Crocus could only turn on the observation hacky, and then he discovered Captain Gol's location. "Hey? Why did you run into the cave? Did the captain get captured by the savages?" Crocus frowned and led Laboon up the mountain. Chapter 88. When Crocus climbed the mountain carrying a large bag of gold, he arrived at the entrance of the cave. Only then did I see Captain Gale happily eating and drinking. Crocus lowered his head and looked at the dust and mud on his body, and he couldn't control the urge to hit someone. So I, an old man, have to work so hard while you, a young and strong man, are just slacking off here? Captain Ghoul. Seeing the miserable state of the man and the cat, Captain Gur remembered that he and his companions were working hard to find the recording pointer. He was so busy making a fortune that he forgot to inform Crocus and Laboon that they didn't need to continue looking. Ha ha ha, Uncle Crocus, please come over and have something to eat. I feel like I haven't met this good friend for a long time. He insisted on inviting me to have a meal. Sorry, I forgot to invite you to come and eat together. Gale said shamelessly, running over and pulling Crocus to sit down, and at the same time calmly put the large bag of treasure on his back into the system space. Luckily we found the record pointer, otherwise this trip would have been in vain with such an unreliable captain. Crocus placed the record pointer on the table and pretended to be talking to Laboon. Considering that there were outsiders present, he thought he should restrain himself and give the captain some face, otherwise he would definitely take action with his explosive temper. Meow. Laboon also nodded in agreement, and by the way, it wanted to refute Crocus's words because it was the one who found the pointer. Laboon was waving his cat paws, gesturing how he had gone through so many dangers to finally find this important record pointer. However, he was picked up by Gale and thrown into the bucket to wash off the dirt on his body. Haha, that's great. I didn't expect you to find the record pointer so quickly. Fortunately, you came along. Crocus and Laboon are really reliable. As he said this, he threw a set of clean clothes to Crocus. Seeing that this man and cat had made such a big scene and were in such a mess, Gale was embarrassed to mention that he already had dozens of record pointers. Humph, that's for sure. Crocus and Laboon both raised their heads 45 degrees proudly upon hearing this. The cave suddenly became noisy, but Xia was the only one sitting alone watching quietly with a kind smile on his face. He felt that today was the happiest day of his life. The cave, which was usually deserted, became lively and full of the atmosphere of life. Hello, Crocus, my name is Keely Pippi Mordred Martha Laboon Lyman SIA. Crocus was also stunned, especially since Xia was speaking very slowly. By the time he read the last part of the long name, he had already forgotten the previous parts. Hello, Senior Xia. Crocus and Xia had a pleasant chat after getting to know each other. After eating and drinking. Senior Xia, how about I take your pulse and check your body? Crocus volunteered to recommend himself, but he was too embarrassed to continue calling himself an old man during the interview in West Asia. Crocus felt that his Hyuxia medicine skills had improved recently. Seeing that Xia was old, Crocus wanted to check Xia's pulse before leaving out of kindness. Thank you for your help. Xia cooperated and stretched out his hand with his palm facing up on the table. Crocus put his index and middle fingers on his wrist. Good dong. Crocus suddenly shuddered and couldn't help swallowing. He once suspected that there was something wrong with his sense of touch, and quickly tried with his other hand, but still felt nothing. Crocus raised his head somewhat warily and glanced secretly at Xia. It was dimly lit in the cave, so Gale lit an oil lamp. In the light of the fire, Crocus could see clearly that Xia had a meaningful smile on his gloomy and terrifying face. Crocus felt goosebumps all over his body. Ah! There's a ghost! He screamed and jumped up from the stool in fright, then he stepped back with Laboon in his arms and looked at Xia nervously. Captain! Come to my side! Hurry up! This old man is a bit weird. Xia looked at Crocus innocently, then turned to look at Gear, both of them looked confused. He's not a human. No, to be more precise, he's not a living person. This old man has no pulse. Just as Ger was about to ask a question, he heard Crocus explain the reason. He felt a little helpless, but also relieved. He chewed and swallowed the food in his mouth, then waved his hand to signal Crocus not to get excited. Don't panic. Sit down first. You can't just read the medical books I gave you blindly. There are so many races in this world, and people's bodies are so different from each other. There are also all kinds of strange people with special abilities, so many things can't be generalized. Seeing how calm and composed Gear was, Crocus realized that it must be a special situation that led to his misdiagnosis. He scratched his head awkwardly and sat back down at the dining table. Gear continued, try to feel Senior Xia's pulse again. Crocus nodded, put 2 fingers on Xia's wrist again, and said solemnly, "Captain, still no pulse. Don't be so anxious, just wait and see." As Gale spoke, he picked up another piece of food, put it in his mouth and chewed it. Plop, got it. About half a minute later, Crocus finally felt a strong pulse beating at his fingertips. How strange. Why is this happening? Captain, you must know the reason, right? Crocus was confused and asked Ger for advice. There's nothing strange about this. Look at Senior Xia's back. Crocus had actually seen such a large turtle shell a long time ago and thought it was just a decoration. Ger continued. Senior Xia is actually the human animal form of the Zoan devil fruit, so he has animal characteristics. The heartbeat frequency of animals like tortoises is very low. When hibernating, it may even only have a heartbeat for several minutes. That's why you mistakenly thought there was no heartbeat. Ah, I see. I'm glad to hear your advice. Crocus then turned to Xia and said, I'm sorry, Senior Xia, I offended you. Hey, it's okay. Xia smiled and waved his hand casually. Not only was he slow in temper now, he also spoke slowly, so he liked to express himself concisely. His talkativeness was also indirectly cured, and he felt more and more like a reclusive master. After Xia lost his human beast form and turned back into an ordinary old man, Crocus diagnosed him and found that although the old man was almost 100 years old, he was still very strong. If nothing unexpected happened, he could really cultivate into an old monster. Chapter 89. On the small island in the belly of the island-eating monster. Ger and Crocus, who were preparing to set off for the return voyage, were already standing on the newly made raft. Sia, who came to see them off, was standing on the shore leaning on a crutch. Senior Xia, let's go now. Do you want to reconsider it? Gale asked again before leaving. No, I found what I want to do next. I have decided to compete with this monster to see who can live longer. If one day this island-eating monster dies and I am still alive, then I will go out and see the outside world. Xia gave a calm smile. Upon hearing this, both Gale and Crocus broke out in a cold sweat. Okay, then take care of yourself. See you again someday, bye. Goodbye. Gale boy, Crocus. Xia waved and said goodbye to the two with a smile. Yoshi, let's go. After saying goodbye to Xia, Ger and Crocus paddled a small raft to the stomach wall of the esophageal monster. Where to go? How are we going to get out? Gale was a little dazed as he stared at the wall of flesh that looked like a cliff. Crocus reached out and touched the wall in front of him, thought for a while and said, Captain, it seems we have no choice. We can either go back through the esophagus and out of the mouth, or continue down through the intestines and out with the feces. Stop, I choose A for this question. Gale made the decision instantly without having to think. Crocus looked calm and suggested, in fact, it's smoother to go out from PP, and it's much less laborious than going back. As a doctor, Crocus is not obsessed with cleanliness. He cares more about efficiency. Stop talking, I'd rather die than be shit. All right. Ger refused to obey, and Crocus could only spread his hands helplessly. So the two of them went upstream, and it took them several hours to finally get back to the monster's mouth from the esophagus. Finally, they escaped through the gap in the big goldfish's gills, which flapped constantly when it breathed. It was called a gap, but in fact it was wider than a street. Gilyalu. Laboon turned into a whale, blew out a large bubble from the nostrils on the top of his head, flicked his tail, and quickly floated to the surface of the sea, dragging the two of them. When he came out, he found that it was already late at night outside. Sitting on the top of Laboon, sailing over the sea and admiring the sparkling waves under the moonlight, at this moment, Gale felt as if he had understood Zhuangzhou's state of mind. Click. Crocus and Ger landed gently on the deck. Since everyone else had set up tents and camped on the island, the boat was quiet and empty. After staying in the fish's stomach for a long time, Gale smelled the unpleasant fishy smell on his body, and hurried to the bathroom, took a comfortable hot shower and changed into clean clothes. Then he returned to the room, fell on the bed, and fell asleep in a second. No words were spoken that night. In the next few days, Gale, Ajin, Bia and Senior formed F4 and went out to sea every day to sweep the pirates. Simple training would not be enough, they still had to accumulate experience in actual combat to turn the attribute improvement of training into a real improvement in combat power. A month passed quickly. If we were to say who had the happiest time during this period, apart from Captain Gale who had recently made a fortune, these two giants were the happiest. They had beer to drink every day and could eat all kinds of delicious food that they had never eaten before. However, he knew that if they drank too much, they would definitely get drunk and delay their teaching, so Captain Gale could only give them a limited supply every day, a barrel of beer in the morning and evening. On the coast, Weevil bent down to gather strength, and the red light on his body quickly condensed, as dazzling as a small Sunday ha. A spiral shock wave whizzed out from the Qing Long Yunyu sword, breaking through the sea surface like a sharp spear, instantly cutting the sea water in two. Boom! In an instant, a deep chasm appeared on the sea surface, and the attack extended to the end of the sea. The terrifying power even exposed the nearby seabed. The sea water on both sides was torn apart frantically by an invisible force and could not close for a long time. The small fish and shrimps that had luckily escaped the disaster were jumping on the thirsty seabed, completely unaware of what was happening. If they could speak, they would definitely ask, "Landlady, why is there no water all of a sudden?" Crash! After a while, the sea water poured into the canyon and filled the wound again. Ha! Boom! Without giving the sea a chance to rest, Wei Bull swung the Azure Dragon Crescent blade in his hand and used the Elbaf spear again, cutting the sea water in half again. Gale has been busy sweeping the pirates recently, and today he finally had some time to come over and do a surprise check on the training results of Weevil and Moria. From a distance, I could see Wei Bull skillfully deliver a powerful Wei Guo. Ah, this is unbelievable. No matter how many times I see it, I still find it unbelievable. Bragi sat aside and slapped his forehead in distress. Elder brother. Seeing Ger coming, Weevil immediately ran over with a big knife in his hand. Brother, I have already learned this trick. When can we go out to sea again? It's so boring to train facing the sea every day. I haven't killed pirates for a long time. Don't worry, we'll be leaving soon. Come, Wei Bull, these are for you to eat. You've been training hard these days, go and take a rest first. After saying that, Gale took out several large bags of Wei Bull's favorite spicy strips and handed them to him. Hey, thank you, brother. After taking the spicy strips, Wei Bull sat down on the ground and started eating. When Bragi saw Gear coming, he said seriously, "My friend, you are finally here. I have something to tell you." Seeing him so serious, Gale frowned and asked, "What's wrong, Bragi? Is it that my brother is not a good student? Or is it that he doesn't follow your arrangements?" Bragi hurriedly shook his head and smiled bitterly, No. On the contrary, Weevil has learned very well. His talent is so great, I have never seen anyone like him. He was able to learn it after just watching it a few times and practicing for a few days. Even the geniuses of our giant tribe would need at least several months to learn the Spear of Elbaf. It is really unexpected. Besides, Wilbur's stamina seems to be inexhaustible. Since he learned it, he has been releasing the Spear of Elbaf all the time except for eating and sleeping. He has used the Spear of Elbaf more times in this month than I have in my entire life. I feel that Wilbur's proficiency and power should have surpassed Dori and me now. It is normal for the disciple to surpass the master. Having gotten another great advantage, Gear was secretly happy, but at the same time he was even more puzzled, so he continued to ask, If you have no problem learning, then why do you look so worried, my friend?" Bragi seemed to be hesitant to speak. Chapter 90. Bragi scratched his head in embarrassment. He felt that this matter damaged his honor as a great Elbaf warrior, but the more he kept silent, the greater the damage would be. In the end, he gritted his teeth and spoke, "I think we should not compete. I regret it. I feel that even if I win, it is not a fair victory. This is not my credit at all. I am really embarrassed to say that I taught Wei Bull." Gale finally understood why Bragi had that expression. This was just like many teachers. They were afraid that their students were too stupid to be taught no matter how hard they tried, and they were also afraid that their students were too smart to need any teaching from their teachers. Some students were even better than their teachers, making every day a stressful experience for teachers. Even if their students got good grades, they had no sense of accomplishment at all. Although Wei Bull's younger brother is not very smart, he is definitely gifted in martial arts. In reality, there are many people who are born with brain damage. Although they do not have high intelligence or even have disabilities, these people often show talents far beyond the average level in certain areas. Some are particularly good at mathematical calculations, and some have unparalleled talents in art. In short, Zoro's disorientation is not fake, he may really have a problem with his brain. This also gives him a higher talent and purer sword intent in kendo. Brother Bragi, since you've said that, then we won't compete. But I still want to thank you for teaching them the giant's unique skills. Gale was a little happy. At first, he was thinking of making Moria and Weeble tie and playing a trick on them. Now it's better, so he just saved the idea. Gale didn't want to deceive these two good friends. As Gale said this, he took out a few barrels of beer. When Bragi saw that there was beer to drink, his face immediately became happy. A man's happiness is simple, and the happiness of a male giant is even simpler. Crack, crack, crack. Bragi drank a large barrel of beer in one gulp, and his worries were forgotten along with the empty barrel. Hiccup. Hey, brother Gale, my good friend, I don't know how I'm going to get through the days without wine after you leave. Gale stroked his chin, rolled his eyes, and smiled. Then do you want to come with me? Then we won't have to worry about running out of wine. Ah, this. Bragi admitted that he was tempted for a moment, but after calming down, he remained firm. No, the duel between Dori and I has not yet been decided. The god of Elbaf is still watching us. We cannot abandon the honor of being a warrior. Gale had expected this answer and nodded in approval. Don't worry, my friends. As a gift in return for all your generosity, I will leave you a large amount of wine before I leave. I will also teach you how to make it later. I guarantee that you will have an endless supply of wine in the future. Crack, crack, crack. Really? That's great. Thank you, brother Ger. You will always be my best friend, Bragi. When Bragi heard that he would have an endless supply of wine in the future, his smile became even brighter. Gale thought to himself that he must do the liquor business in the future. This sea is full of alcoholics, and he would definitely make money by selling alcohol. Okay, then you drink slowly. I'll go to Dori to check the situation first. No problem. Ger left some snacks for Bragi to eat with his wine and then walked to the other side of the island. Taku Island, West Blue Shore. I saw a tall man with a naked upper body revealing his muscular body, standing in place gathering strength, with a faint blue light flashing on his body. Suddenly, his eyes opened, and he swung his sword forward with both hands, and a spiral shock wave rushed out instantly. Boom! With one blow, a huge rock weighing hundreds of tons dozens of meters away was pierced through. When the smoke and dust cleared, a regular cylindrical hole with a diameter of about 10 meters appeared on the rock, and the inner wall was smooth and flat. He. Lao Zi is really a talented guy. As I said, this move was specially prepared for me. The man with a devilish face laughed out loud after seeing the results of his attack. It was Moria in training. Not bad, not bad. You have mastered this level in just 1 month. That's amazing. It's really astonishing. Dori, who was standing by, was not in a much better mood than Bragi at the moment. He couldn't help but recall that when he was young, he learned the Spear of Elbaf under the instruction of an elder in his clan. It took him more than a year to learn it, while this student got the hang of it in just 1 month. Ahem, Senior Yuppie who taught me at that time must be the kind of mediocre teacher who misleads students, as Brother Gale said. And I taught Moria in less than a month. I am really a famous teacher. Ga. Dori thought so and felt happier. Click. Gale calmly landed on the boulder and took a look at the big hole in the stone. If he had not seen Weevil's Elbaf spear before coming here, the power of Moria's attack might have been enough to surprise Gale. Unfortunately, he was most afraid of comparison. Gear nodded and encouraged, yes, it seems that you can also become a master, Lao Mo. He, I haven't used my full strength just now. I only used 80% of my strength. So, Boss Gale, who do you think has more powerful moves, me or that guy Weeble? Moria said confidently. Although it is really good that Moria can get started in 1 month, it may still be a little bit behind Weeble. Well, Weeble can only split the sea water, which is much worse than you. Gale sat on a stone and said seriously, with a look of disappointment on his face, one should act fully. Gale often took out an actor's self-cultivation to read. He, don't worry, Boss Gale. I will go to him to practice and exchange ideas. I will definitely not let him fall behind and affect our sailing plan. Moria's mouth was stretched to his ears, revealing a mouthful of sharp triangular teeth. He was already imagining stepping on Weeble. Okay, you're really reliable. Please, Lao Mo, remember to be ruthless. That guy has been too lazy recently. When I came over, he was still eating spicy noodles and taking a rest. Ger clapped his hands in encouragement. He. We are all partners in the same boat. It is my duty to encourage each other. Moria and Ger both raised their mouth corners and smiled wickedly. By the way, boss, can you give this move a name? You actually came to me with such a difficult problem as naming? Gale was about to blurt out that this move was called Waiguo, but after thinking about it carefully, it seemed that it should have a different name. Forward. Gale thought, why not just call it destroying the sun, to express the captain's expectations for you, but let's be a little more obscure. The rainbow pierces the sun. The rainbow pierces the sun like a spear. It is a celestial phenomenon that foreshadows the coming of disaster. It is just right. This move is called penetrating the sun. Connery. Piercing through the sun? Disaster is coming? He. What a hacky name. It suits me very well. You are worthy of being boss ghoul. From now on, this move will be called Connery. Moria picked up the sword and laughed with satisfaction. Gale suddenly thought that in this world, the sun represents something called Nika, a devil fruit that successfully turned the hot-blooded comics into a blood battle again. However, Ghoul didn't care too much. The D-clan is the enemy of God. If the Straw Hats can defeat the celestial dragons, as long as their own interests are not harmed, it's up to them. If you don't like someone cheating, just report him. It's none of my business. Chapter 91. The day before sailing, Moria bravely went to find Weeble to exchange experiences, while Ger directed Bragi and Dori to cut down a lot of large trees and cut them into flat wooden boards, and then took the two of them to set up several huge billboards on the coast. Gale took out paint and brushes and asked Dori and Bragi to write slogans on all the billboards, mainly to convey a message. Here are pointers to completed records, which can be exchanged for wine or other desirable items. Brother Gale, will we really have an endless supply of wine like this? Bragi was holding a huge paintbrush and painting hard on the billboard. His silly face was covered with red and blue paint. Gale took out the extra 60 or so pointers that had completed the record and explained, of course, why would I lie to you? Just do this, and then this, it will definitely work. Dori also curiously put his ear close to it, wanting to listen to how it was operated. Gear's plan is actually very simple. First he left these pointers that he didn't need to Dori and Bragi. Any ship that arrives here via this route, whether it is pirates or merchants, will face the same problem, which is that it will take a whole year to record the magnetic field of the next island. Most people will need this completed record pointer urgently. No one wants to wait a year before leaving for the next island unless they have permanent pointers prepared to go to other islands. So at this time, tell them that there are already recorded pointers and they can exchange them for wine or other supplies. Gale believes that most people will want to trade, it's just a matter of how much they want to exchange. At the beginning, the exchange can be done at a lower price. As the news gradually spreads, more and more people on the sea will know that they can come to Little Garden and exchange wine with the giant for the record pointer of the next island. More and more people will come with wine to seek transactions. Do you still need to worry about not having wine to drink? Brother Gale, what if they don't bring any wine? Bragi, who was listening carefully, raised his hand to ask a question. If you don't have wine, just change it for money first. But money is useless to us, what is the point of exchanging money? Gale rubbed his temple. He also had the same troubles as the students he taught, but it was because they were too stupid. How stupid? You can just use the money to exchange for drinks with other people later. Oh, yes, it turns out that this is possible. Bragi suddenly realized, and laughed even more happily after being scolded by teacher Gale. That's about it. Then you have to pay attention that in addition to changing the wine, you also have to change the pointers that have not completed the record. In this way, after the old batch of pointers are changed and the new batch of pointers are completed, you can continue to change the wine. Gale explained over and over again until his mouth was dry. It took a lot of effort to make these two idiots understand what to do. The old pointer is exchanged for a new pointer and wine, and when the new fingerprint is recorded and becomes the old pointer, it can be exchanged for a new pointer and wine again. Then don't we actually give nothing? Haha, haha. Brother Gale, you are so smart. I didn't expect you could think of such a method. I think it will work. Dori's mind is quite flexible. After he understood what Ger said, he immediately thought that Ger's method was very reliable. How can you say you didn't give? You spent your most precious time helping them record the pointer in advance so that they don't have to wait a year before setting off. A year is much more valuable to them than this little drink. Ger taught. Ha 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 ha. That's right, Brother Gel is right. It's really a bargain for them to exchange a dozen barrels of beer for a year. Crack, crack, crack. Broggy felt like he understood, but not completely, so he could only laugh along to ease the awkwardness. Gel thought about it and reminded the two, oh, there's one more thing you need to pay attention to. Remember to check the wine you exchanged carefully to see if there's any problem. You can let them drink it first. After they're done drinking, you can catch an animal and force some wine into it to see if there's any problem. Only after everything is fine can you drink it yourself. After all, you all have a bounty of 100 million on you. Don't be stupid enough to pour out the drug for money. I don't want to see the news of you being sent to impel down in the newspaper. Crack, crack, crack. Brother Gel, don't worry about this. We are not that easy to block. Whoever dares to cheat, I will let him see the power of my giant axe. Yes, yes, it's harder to successfully deceive us than to successfully become the king of pirates. Ha 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 ha. Dory and Broggy both burst out laughing after saying this. Gel couldn't help but twitch the corners of his mouth. He couldn't understand where these two guys got their mysterious confidence from. He also didn't know which idiot in the original book drank the exploding wine. The three of them continued to paint the billboards. As a layman, Gel knew nothing about advertising design and couldn't get it right after spending a long time. Finally, under the professional art guidance of Funi, they spent half a day and finally made the billboards look decent. When Crocus learned that Captain Gale had left dozens of completed record pointers for Dory and Broggy to exchange for wine, he couldn't help but blush. He didn't expect that the clown was actually himself. After arranging everything, the day of departure finally arrived. Goodbye my friends. Remember to come back and see us when you have time, FKU, I don't want to see you two idiots anymore. Listening to the two powerful voices coming from the shore, Gel waved his hand perfunctorily. He was tired and just wanted to say goodbye to these two idiots as soon as possible. Hey! Broggy, shouldn't we send Brother Gel off for the last time? The island-eating monster that's blocking the road hasn't appeared yet. Dory held his weapon, ready to go, but when he saw his old friend beside him preparing to go back for a drink, he hurriedly reminded him. He couldn't use the powerful Heikoku by himself, so it took the two of them working together to defeat this monster. Ba, don't worry about it. Brother Gel and the others can handle it themselves. Let's go back and have a couple of drinks together. Dory remembered the competition between Weeble and Moria that he saw yesterday, and thought that this might be the case, so he started to catch up with Broggy, and the two of them walked back arm in arm. Ha ha ha, go, 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 drink your drink first. No. Let's drink our own. I'm going to drink slowly and try to hold on until the next time someone comes to trade with me for wine. Broggy took Dory's hand away and thought to himself, I haven't drunk anything yet, I'm sober, don't try to take advantage of me. GER had already stocked their respective caves with beer yesterday. If you drink personal drinks, you can still save some, but if you drink public drinks, you will have to finish them in a few days. Humph, so stingy. Not at all like a great Elbath warrior. The two of them slowly disappeared into the depths of the jungle, bickering with each other. Chapter 92. Back to the boat. Gel turned around and looked at the happy family members on the boat, and felt like someone was missing. Did someone forget to get on board? With this thought in mind, Captain Gel quickly counted the number of people. After counting it twice, he found that there was indeed one person missing. Weibul, Bia, Ajin, Senor, Crocus, and Laboon, Funi and Ziobai, Mozan, Fate, Moria. Where's old Mo? Have any of you seen Moria? Only then did Gel realize that Moria was missing. He hurriedly asked about it, but everyone looked at each other and shook their heads. It's bad, Lao Mo hasn't boarded the boat yet, he must have been left on the island. Ade and Aer, turn around quickly, let's go back. Ahem, boss. I'm here. Oh my god. Who are you? Why are you on my boat? Just as Gel was about to give the order to turn around and look for his trusted general, a resentful voice suddenly came from behind. When Gel turned around, he saw a monster with an extremely terrifying appearance in front of him, which scared him directly. Moria had actually been squatting in a dark corner. When he heard Captain Gale and everyone else looking for him, he slowly emerged from the shadows. However, Moria's condition was not very good at this moment. His face was swollen like a pig's head and his body was wrapped in bandages. His appearance was so frightening that it could make a child cry. If you didn't know, you would think he was a zombie. The pig-headed monster's smile was uglier than crying. He pointed at himself and tried to speak incoherently, "Ger, boss Ger, yes. Yes, it's Moria. How is this possible? Who are you kidding? My Lao Mo may not be as handsome as me, but he is also a good-looking man. How could he look like you? Tell me. Where did you come from? It's really me, boss." Moria was in tears. In fact, Gale recognized him early on, but he found his appearance a little funny and teased him on purpose. "Ah. It's really Lao Mo. How did you end up like this? Who did it? Tell me quickly, and the captain will avenge you." Weibo on the side just turned his face away as if nothing had happened. Moria cursed in his heart, "It's because you lied to me, Captain, about Weevil's laziness in training, and his Elbaf spear skills were just average, not as good as my P-entry. Yesterday, I was full of confidence to practice with him, and I fought him head-on, but ended up getting hit by Weevil's real P-entry. I think it's great that I can still survive. What else do you want from me?" "He, Captain, I'm fine. I just overtrained yesterday. I'll be fine after a few days of rest." A real man would rather swallow his shameful words than say a single word. Gale didn't tease him any further. He took out a Dawandan, threw it into Moria's mouth, and let him go back to rest. After resolving this incident and confirming that all the companions on board were present, Gale gave the order, "Set sail. Ada and let's go." "Woof woof woof. Captain. Where are we going next?" Ajin asked as he looked at the pointers on the table. "Yes, in addition to recording the next stop pointed to by the pointer, we now also have permanent pointers for Alabasta, Drum Island, and Gaia Island." Funi stood aside with a cup of coffee, looking at the nautical chart on the table with great interest. "Ah, this." Gale was also in a brief hesitation. The place he wanted to go the most was definitely Gaia Island, and then go straight to Sky Island to search for gold. However, he felt that since he was already here, there was no need to rush. More haste makes waste. He also wanted to see other islands. "Well, that's it. It's decided. Let's go to Magnetic Drum Island next." Gale made up his mind and picked up the permanent pointer of Magnetic Drum Island. There was also a devil fruit in the Drum Kingdom that he really wanted, so he just went there to get it. The current king is still a good ruler. Even if he doesn't love his people like his own children, he is still conscientious. Wapol should still be a kid under 10 years old at this time. I hope his luck, which is comparable to Buggy's, can come in handy and save him once. He, it's better that you haven't eaten the munch fruit yet, otherwise don't blame yourself for killing the goose that lays the golden eggs. Let's go. Let's go. Baya waved her fists excitedly. The sweat she had put in over the past month had given her fair arms some muscle lines. Thousands of miles away, the Drum Kingdom. King's Castle. "Your Highness, Wapol. What are you doing in the treasury at this hour of night?" Little Wapol, who was sneaking around to do something bad, was startled by the sudden sound from behind him. He turned around in anger and was about to yell. But the person who spoke was a tall middle-aged man wearing guard armor and with a righteous face, followed by several soldiers. He hesitated for a moment, because this man was not an ordinary guard, but the captain of the guard who was highly regarded by his father, the current king, Hilton. "Ahem, I'm hungry and can't sleep, so I'm just taking a look." Hilton had a little headache. The old king had a son in his old age and he had always treated his youngest son like a treasure. Overindulging. If this continues, it will lead to disaster. Look, the young prince likes to stir up trouble at such a young age, and the eldest prince Mikshalu is a cruel person with a tyrant-like temperament. Well. Headache. Hilton was deeply concerned about the country's future successors. Forget it. I'll find a chance to persuade His Majesty the King another day. If he doesn't pay attention to education, the Drum Kingdom will be doomed in the future. Dalton, His Highness is hungry. Maybe the castle is too big for him to find the way to the restaurant. Please take His Highness there and ask the kitchen to prepare a midnight snack for His Highness. Yes. Father. A teenager with a square head and face who looked very similar to Hilton walked out of the team and responded with a serious expression. Although the boy is young, he is taller and stronger than his father. His face looks more mature than his actual age. He and the captain of the guard look more like brothers than father and son. Hilton frowned. You have to call me sir here. Yes. Sir. Go ahead. Yes. Dalton walked up to Walpole, stretched out his hand as a gesture of invitation, and said respectfully. Come on, Your Highness Walpole, I'll take you to the dining room. Tisk. How stingy. Can't you even take a look? This is my family's treasure house. I will definitely tell father about this. Little Walpole complained quietly as he walked out. Hilton ignored the little boy's verbal threats and walked straight to where Walpole had just been. There are several large boxes here, which contain the gold from heaven that needs to be handed over to the world government at the end of the year. This is a matter of utmost importance, and there must be no accidents. Otherwise, the Drum Kingdom will be kicked out of the ranks of the member countries. Without the protection of the world government and the Marine, the whole country will suffer in this age where pirates are prevalent. Chapter 93. Hilton walked straight to the place where Walpole had just been. He first opened several large boxes and checked the amount of gold, silver, and treasures inside. After finding that there was no problem, he opened an exquisite small box on top. Squeak! When the box was opened, Hilton's heart skipped a beat. Wait a moment. Upon hearing the captain of the guard's order, everyone paused. Walpole shrank his neck, knowing that his plan must have been exposed. However, he was not panicked at all. How could taking things from one's own home be considered stealing? Your Highness Walpole. Please take out what you took from here. Did you eat it? Hilton was very nervous and asked in an anxious tone, fearing that the little ancestor would turn his head and say in the next second, I have eaten it, you can kill me or chop me up as you please. I didn't take anything. I didn't eat anything. Don't slander me. Besides, even if I did take something, so what? This is my home, and the things in this treasure house belong to my family. You are just hired by my father to help guard it. What right do you have to control what I, your master, took? Humph. I'm going to tell my father that you bullied me. After saying this, little Walpole pretended to be wronged and angry. Unfortunately, Hilton knew the character of this young prince very well. He was not moved at all and continued to persuade him, Your Highness. This is the heavenly gold that needs to be handed over to the celestial dragons. Nothing can happen to it, or we'll be in big trouble. If you continue to refuse to cooperate, I will have no choice but to have someone invite His Majesty the King. You may not understand the seriousness of this matter, but I can assure you that even if His Majesty the King himself comes, he will not protect you in the slightest. Instead, you will suffer in vain. So you'd better return the things quickly. All of us present here will pretend that we saw nothing during our patrol tonight and that nothing happened. Walpole had a drop of cold sweat on his forehead. Although his father doted on him, if he really got into trouble, he would be locked up. He couldn't stand being locked up at home and not being able to go out and make trouble, even for a day. But until the last moment, he chose to continue to hold on. Humph. If I say no, then I mean no. How dare you question me? Dalton, go and inform His Majesty of the matter. Just say that there is a problem with Tianchangjian and he needs to deal with it. Yes. Sir. Just as Dalton was about to leave the team to inform His Majesty the King, Walpole finally gave in. Hey? What is this thing? How did it get into my pocket by itself? Then he pulled out a strangely shaped fruit from his pocket, with a look of surprise on his face, as if he really had no idea what was going on. All the guards present were speechless. Hilton quickly took the thing from Walpole's hand and carefully examined the purple spherical shape in his hand. There was a winding dividing line in the middle like a fang. The whole thing looked a bit like a strange fruit in a closed trap. Great! In mint condition. Hilton finally breathed a sigh of relief. Carefully put the devil fruit back into the treasure box and placed it together with another strange-looking fruit. After replacing the lid, Hilton still felt uneasy, so he ordered his men to bring a large steel padlock to lock the treasure box tightly. Only then did he wipe the cold sweat from his forehead with satisfaction. Fortunately, I found it in time. If it was a little bit late at night, this devil fruit would be useless if it was bitten. What a close call. It's really worrying. This strange fruit called devil fruit is said to give you all kinds of magical powers after eating it. But this is not what Hilton cares about. He only knows that when handing over the gold to the sky, such a small piece of fruit can actually offset 100 million Baileys of tax. It's great to be lucky enough to find 2 devil fruits on Drum Island. The country and its citizens can reduce the tax burden of 200 million berries. I think everyone should be able to live a more prosperous life this year. Hilton felt emotional, but when he thought of the long winter on magnetic Drum Island, he sighed helplessly. Except for the families of doctors who may have a slightly better life, it is impossible for ordinary citizens to live a rich life. I just hope that fewer people will starve to death in this cold winter. Tisk. It's okay now. I've returned all your things to you. Can you leave now? Walpole was very unhappy that his little secret was exposed on the spot, and he was already quite angry at such a young age. Please take care, Your Highness Walpole. Enjoy your meal. Snort. Walpole turned around and left without even eating supper. He had completely hated this nosy captain of the guard, but he didn't know that it was Hilton's nosiness that accidentally saved his life. Back to the boat. Crash. Just as Gale was about to lie down to catch up on some sleep, he suddenly heard a noisy sound coming from outside, accompanied by a violent shaking of the ship. The rushing water is like a waterfall, and the water rushing down from a great height makes a deafening sound. Wow! What the hell is that? It's such a huge monster. Baya raised her head and widened her eyes, feeling that the monster in front of her was so big that it was almost beyond her sight. The others were also stunned, and Baya's loud voice spoke for everyone. It's not like they had never seen goldfish before, but this goldfish, which was bigger than a mountain, was something they had never seen before. Except for Gale and Crocus, everyone on the deck was seeing this island-eating monster for the first time, and they were all shocked by its size that blocked out the sun and the sky. Ada and Aer were even more dumbfounded. They were almost scared to death when they encountered Laboon for the first time. The strange fish in front of them was dozens or hundreds of times bigger than Laboon. They really couldn't blame them. They really couldn't hold their urine this time. The monster slowly opened its big mouth and sucked in all the surrounding sea water like a black hole. Without Gale's order, Ada and Aer were already swimming desperately in the opposite direction, but they were still unable to resist the turbulent current, and the boat was still moving backwards towards the mouth of the island-eating monster. It still appeared. Gale shook his head helplessly and walked towards the stern. He. What a perfect target. The stage is set, Weiabul. Hurry up and perform a combo. Let everyone see the results of our training during this period. Moria excitedly jumped onto the side of the ship, looking at the huge monster in front of him with a crazy look on his face, having completely forgotten that he was a patient recuperating from injury. No. I can do it myself. Go away. You're blocking me. Weeble calmly stood in front of everyone with his sword in hand, and pushed Moria next to him with a look of disgust. Moria couldn't stand this, and he and Weeble started pushing each other. Ah, UBD, how dare you look down on me, damn it. If you don't want to cooperate, then don't cooperate. It's just Sea Kings, I can do it myself. Get out of the way, lousy. Hey, big brothers. Please stop fighting. If you don't take action, we will be swallowed up. Ah. This is so scary. I'm going to be eaten. The rest of the people on the ship had already calmed down after seeing Weeble and Moria appear, but they did not expect that the two of them would actually wrestle with each other for the right to attack. Seeing that the ship was getting closer and closer to the monster's huge mouth, everyone began to panic again. Ah. It's over, it's over. We're going to be eaten. Chapter 94. He. Let me do it. There's no way I can give this opportunity to show off to a big fool like you. Moria showed no martial ethics and jumped out from the deck directly. He made a sword drawing and slashing gesture in the air. A faint blue light condensed on his body and his momentum rose sharply. Moria had already written the script, with a handsome mid-air slash, and then spreading the demon wings that had been prepared in advance behind him to fly back to the ship, ending perfectly. Perfect. He. Stupid monster. Prepare to die. Take my attack. Quanri. Crack. Ideals are full, but reality is skinny. When Moria swung the sword with all his strength, he heard the sound of glass breaking from the weapon in his hand. Moria looked down, his eyes suddenly burst into tears. At that moment time seemed to stop. Moria watched helplessly as the long sword in his hand began to crack. The crackling sound, as clear and pleasant as wind chimes, sounded as unpleasant as moans and wails to Moria's ears. Finally, the blade was completely unable to withstand the terrifying energy condensed on it, and it exploded with a bang, instantly breaking into countless tiny pieces that flew away with the wind. From a distance, this scene looks like a fairy scattering flowers. It's a pity that the protagonist is a pig-headed man. Not only is the picture not beautiful at all, it's even a bit eye-catching. Completion. Totally screwed. Moria had a look of despair on his face. This time, I didn't end up making a fool of myself, but I ended up making a fool of myself. Ah! What should I do? This is so embarrassing. Everyone is looking at me. I really want to find a hole to crawl into. Damn it! Why is this happening? That's right, it must have been damaged during the sparring with Weibul yesterday. That's right, it must be like this. This is the only possibility. Ah! Weibul. UBD. It's all your fault. Ah! Gurgle 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 gurgle. At that moment, countless thoughts flashed through Moria's mind, and in the end, the only thing she remembered was cursing Weibul, but she forgot to open the wings behind her, and as a result, she fell directly into the sea with a splash. As a person with special abilities, he did not go against the rules and sank obediently while spitting out bubbles. Ah! Brother Moria! Oh no, Brother Moria fell into the sea. He can't swim. Baya was about to go into the water anxiously, but was pulled back by Ajin. Weibul looked at the bubbles rising from the sea, then turned to look at the island-eating monster, and felt that he should deal with the monster in front of him first. Leave it to me here, Weibul, go and fish that idiot out first. Gale arrived just in time and did not miss Moria's dramatic dive. Seeing the anxious Bia and Ajin lying on the side of the boat and about to jump into the water to save people, Gale was afraid that he would have to rescue 2 more people later, so he quickly opened his mouth and shouted. Okay brother. Hearing Gale's order, Weibul dropped his weapon and dived into the sea without hesitation. Gale had already given him the water affinity meatballs to eat. With the water ability of the merman race and his extremely strong physique, Weibul did not feel any impact in the turbulent ocean current. He accelerated and dived straight down to find Moria, who was already rolling his eyes. Gale stared at the huge monster in front of him, and the cloak on his body began to move without wind. Dark energy swirled around Gale like a tornado, and grew bigger and bigger like a snowball, and soon turned into a hurricane that rushed straight into the sky. Roll! Gale's eyes flashed red, and with a roar, the black conqueror's haki around him instantly turned into a huge crescent moon, and then flew towards the monster as quickly as a swordsman's flying slash. Conqueror's haki pierced through the monster's mountain-like body in an instant. The black crescent flew away in a farther direction close to the sea surface, and the circle of waves it created swallowed up all the waves in the opposite direction. The island-eating monster's body shook, and its huge body trembled as if it had been electrocuted. Then it dived into the water in panic without even closing its mouth, and soon disappeared without a trace. The sea surface returned to calm again. The blocked sunlight once again fell on the deck. Everyone on the boat breathed a sigh of relief. Captain, what was that just now? It was so scary, I thought we were going to be eaten. Baya patted her chest, which had begun to develop and was slightly bulging, and said. It's okay. It's just a big goldfish that likes to gnaw on islands and swallow ships. I've driven it away. Don't be afraid. Gale was originally thinking about watching Weibul and Moria perform a combination of skills, but halfway through he suddenly remembered that the little old man's yaw was still in the fish's belly, so he hurried over to stop them. Ah! That's right. Brother Moria is still in the sea. Upon hearing this, they remembered that there was someone taking a bath, and they hurried to the side of the boat to rescue him. Bang! After surfacing, Weibul threw Moria onto the deck, then jumped back onto the boat. He grabbed Moria's feet and easily stood him upside down. Puff! After a shake, the sea water in Moria's mouth came out like a fountain, and even a small fish jumped out of his mouth, fluttered on the deck for a few times, and was taken away by Ziobai. Cough cough cough! As his bulging belly slowly shrank, Moria woke up coughing. Seeing everyone looking at him, Moria couldn't help but blush. Thinking of the series of confusing actions he had just performed, he wanted to die. Ah! Sorry, everyone. I am sorry for causing you all trouble. Moria sincerely apologizes to everyone. We all saw it. The weapon suddenly broke down. It's not your fault, Brother Moria. Yes, yes, this was an accident. Everyone began to comfort the wounded heart of this tough guy. everyone. Woohoo! Thank you. Moria was so moved that tears came to her eyes. Ah, Boss Gel. You have to take charge of this for me. It's all because of that BD weeble that he broke my knife yesterday. I'm left with no weapon, Captain. Woo woo woo. Seeing Ger there, Moria immediately pounced on the captain, hugged his thighs and began to cry bitterly. He knew that the opportunity he had been waiting for a long time had finally arrived. Moria has not forgotten how Weibul's supreme sword came from. He. As long as I can earn a supreme big knife, this wave will be a win. Chapter 95. Alright, I got it. I'll help you with the weapons. Hurry up and get up. Seeing Moria's snot and tears all over his pants, Gel felt helpless. What could he do? He could only choose to agree to him. The last thing Captain Gel lacked now was money. Directly open the weapon page of the mall. The operation was quick, and didn't take up too many words, and Ger selected the type, appearance, size, and level of the weapon in just a few seconds. Captain Ghoul is not stingy at all and he wants to be fair. He will definitely choose the supreme sword level. Press confirm. The goods will arrive immediately after payment. Ding. Purchase successful. Please check. Show. The clear sound of a sword being unsheathed resounded through heaven and earth. The Qinglong sword in Weibul's hand also trembled and made a buzzing sound. The king did not meet the king, but these two supreme swords not only met, but they might even have to live together in the future. A two-handed sword with a handle of 1.8 meters, a blade of 3.6 meters, and a total length of more than 5 meters appeared in front of everyone. Its appearance was very similar to the ancient Hyuxia saber. The blade exuded bursts of coldness, like the breath of death from the underworld, and the metal surface was shining with a blue edge like frost crystals. Special attribute: the attack comes with a certain degree of freezing damage and soul damage. There are not necessarily only 12 supreme swords among the 12 great swords, but 26 years have passed, and the original novel seems to have clearly revealed only 3 or 4 supreme swords: Kusogomkiri, the weapon of the world's strongest man, Whitebeard. The Black Sword Knight of Dracul Mihawk, the world's greatest swordsman. Pirates King Roger's sword ace. There is also a knife-wielding old man who is one of the 5 elders holding what looks like a first-generation kaititsu. Now that he has 2 supreme swords on his ship, Gel can't help but sigh that having money really allows one to do whatever he wants. Now he can spend 1 billion belly without even blinking an eye. Gel feels a little inflated, and really wants to tell old thief Oda that the finale is almost here, and only a few of the supreme swords have appeared. Why don't you stop drawing them later, and I will help you draw the remaining supreme swords. Seeing the long sword floating in the air, Moria immediately regained his spirits and stopped crying and making a fuss. He immediately got up from the ground, reached out and grasped the handle of the sword, only to feel a cool and refreshing sensation in his hand. Feeling the quality and sharpness of the long sword, Moria no longer cared about being sad, he was already smiling from ear to ear. He. Nice knife. Thank you, Boss Gel. By the way, what is the name of this knife? Hearing this, Gel pretended to frown and think hard. It was obvious that he was about to start talking nonsense seriously again. The rainbow pierces the sun. The rainbow pierces the sun like a long sword. It is a celestial phenomenon that foreshadows the coming of disaster. It is just right that this supreme sword should be named Long Rainbow. Boss Gel, why does this sound so familiar? Ah. By the way, isn't this the same move you just used when you named it for me yesterday? Moria now seriously suspected that Captain Gale was too lazy to make up a new one, so he just wanted to fool himself. Gear was calm and collected. He glanced at him with his eyelids slightly raised, and said unhappily, "You know shit. Have you ever heard of the Chonghong sword technique? It's said that if you practice it to perfection, you will be invincible in the world." There was no way Moria had heard of this before, so she could only shake her head in confusion. That's right. You haven't even heard of such a famous sword technique, and you still dare to suspect that I'm deceiving you. Ah, no, sir, that's not what I meant. Alas. It's a pity that this sword technique is only suitable for those who are super upright and righteous, not for people like you and me who have 2 dark hearts. I didn't listen to the advice and refused to believe in evil. As a result, after 10 years of hard training, I only learned one move, Long Rainbow piercing the Sunday. So now the captain has named your sword Chonghong and your move Guanri. Do you understand what the captain expects of you? Moria had been completely intimidated by Gale, and looked like he was humbly asking for advice and was ready to listen. Everyone on the ship also gathered around to listen to Captain Gale's tricks. Lao Mo, the captain hopes that you can stick to your heart. We don't need others to define whether we are good or bad. Even the sun, which is bright, is not necessarily good. I will tell you the story of Ho Yi shooting down the sun later. Anyway, you must remember that even if you have a dark heart, you can still do righteous things. Light may not always defeat darkness. For the justice in your heart, even the sun, which represents light, can be pierced through with a sword. Hey? What am I talking about? Everyone seemed to understand, but they were all shocked by the indomitable momentum in Captain Gale's words. Moria was even more deeply touched. He felt as if he had understood something from Gale's words. He couldn't explain it clearly, but his intuition told him that this thing was very important. It felt as if something in his body was quietly taking root. Although Moria is the owner of the shadow fruit rather than the dark fruit, the shadow itself is the darkness produced by light, so it is not wrong for Gale to describe it this way. Look, this is so rigorous, it means that all of this has a basis, it's impossible that I just made it up. Gale was calm and collected, bragging was easier than drinking water, and he had no idea how much impact his fabricated words would have on others. Moria didn't come back to his senses for a long time and could only nod blankly. He felt that what the captain said made sense. Moreover, looking at the brand new supreme sword in his hand, Moria felt that even if Bhaskar said that the devil fruit was fragrant, he would stand up without hesitation and shout that the captain was right. Just like that, a small crisis caused by the island-eating monster was successfully resolved without any danger by the wise and brave Captain Gur. Everyone chatted and laughed and began to head towards the next island. The sky is clear and the air is fresh. The weather was nice today, so everyone moved their activities outside. On deck, Gale used his large knife-level fishing rod with bonuses to have a fishing competition with Crocus. Captain Gale didn't expect that he would be abused even though he cheated. He was originally a little unconvinced, but when he thought that he traveled through time just to compete with an old man while fishing, he immediately calmed down. Fate set up a barbecue stall nearby. As soon as Ger and Crocus caught the fish, the bigger ones would be simply processed by Fate and put on the grill, while the smaller fish would go into the mouths of Ziobai and Laboon. They were grilled right after being caught, with the main focus on freshness and original flavor. The two cats were very sensible and played around Captain Ghoul because he always caught small fish. Moria sat on the ground nearby, wiping his newly acquired beloved sword Chonghong carefully. Weibul felt that he could not be a scumbag, as feelings would fade over time, so he also took out his Qinglong Yunyu sword to wipe and maintain it and put it in the sun. On the deck, Ajin was completing his own training while guiding Baya in her training. He had become a full-fledged master. Mozan and Funi sat beside the small coffee table, drinking tea and reading the books in their hands. Senor leaned on the guardrail at the bow, enjoying the sea breeze, eating an apple in his hand and watching Ada and Air swimming smoothly and gracefully in the water. He had a feeling that he should really like swimming. The person that Gale couldn't stand the most was Senor. Although this BD was not the very handsome type, he was manly and good-looking. The key was that melancholy look in his eyes, coupled with his elegant manners, humble attitude towards others, and proper conversation. He had a gentlemanly temperament. Just standing there, he looked like a male star or a male model. How could the girls withstand such lethality? Senor didn't know that he had been targeted by the captain because he seriously threatened Captain Gale's position as the ship's straw. Chapter 96. A news bird landed on the railing. Captain Gale, who was very wealthy, threw a $1,000 bill over without saying a word and bought 10 newspapers, including the latest issue and previous issues. He bought 2 copies of each issue to save others from having to wait for the people in front to finish reading. The newsbird took the money, happily took out a stack of newspapers from its bag, handed it to Gale respectfully, bowed, and then spread its wings and flew away. They still had to follow the proper etiquette when treating big customers. On the deck of the ship, there is a protruding circular ring design under the huge main mast, about 1 meter high, like a bench in the park. The mast and sails can also be used to provide shade, just like taking shelter under a tree. It is a good place for the crew to sit down and rest when they have nothing to do. Gale thinks that this design is simple and beautiful, convenient and practical, and very user-friendly. He suggests that this design can be retained when buying a new boat in the future. At this time, Gear was sitting on a circular bench, with his back against the mast, drinking tea, and comfortably took out the latest edition of the newspaper and began to read it. As usual, there is a lot of spammy content, with the largest amount of space devoted to stories about certain pirates who committed such and such heinous crimes somewhere, and how the world government and the Marine decided to offer a reward for such and such pirates based on the serious harm they posed to society. Is it useful? Gale believes that those pirates on the list might be celebrating when they see this newspaper. The pirates who are satisfied with their bounties are celebrating with a big banquet, while some pirates who are not so satisfied with their bounties are probably already planning where to go next to create more horrific killings to frighten the world government, so as to increase the bounties and make a name for themselves. Therefore, this bounty order, which has no deterrent effect, is just a piece of empty paper. Not only can it not make these villains restrain themselves, but it is like a kind of praise and affirmation from the authorities. It will only make them more aggressive. What nonsense! No nutrition at all. Throwing the newspaper casually on the table, Gale picked up the previous issues. I thought it would be just some trivial stuff, with no interesting news. But as soon as I opened it, Gale's eyes were attracted by a photo in the middle. The photo shows a man with an extremely arrogant expression. Even though he had been beaten black and blue, his face was still full of defiance. He looked as if the whole world owed him money. The man had sea stone shackles on his hands, and his signature blonde hair was like the wild mane of an adult lion. There was also half a ship's rudder stuck on the top of his head, which made him look a bit funny, very much like a unique rooster comb hairstyle. The front page headline of this issue has a sensational headline: Marine Duo, legendary Marine Garp and the resourceful General Sengoku teamed up to defeat the Flying Pirates and successfully captured the captain of the Flying Pirates alive. Pirates Admiral, Golden Lion Shiki was defeated and captured. Now the great pirate's Golden Lion has been detained in the world's #1 prison, Impel. This is another great victory for the Marine after the arrest of Pirates King Roger. Without continuing to read the wonderful story made up by the world government, Gale, who knew the truth, couldn't help but curl up the corners of his mouth into a meaningful smile, and silently gave a thumbs up to the shamelessness of the world government and Marine in his heart. Obviously, it was Golden Lion who broke into the naval headquarters alone and caused chaos. The entire headquarters was smashed to pieces and countless ordinary soldiers were killed and injured. However, with a few word games, it was instantly turned into the Marine defeating the entire Flying Pirates group. They also captured the leader in the midst of thousands of troops and successfully arrested the captain of the Flying Pirates group, Golden Lion Shiki. You really know how to play it. It's important to control public opinion. Ger picked up the teacup and took a sip. Putting aside other factors, purely from the perspective of ability, Gale personally believes that Golden Lion's lion fruit ability actually has the best chance of dominating this ocean. When others are still playing sailing, Lion Fruit is directly an aerial aircraft carrier battle group. Isn't this a dimensionality reduction attack? Moreover, with air superiority, you can completely control the initiative of the attack. If they want to attack, they will descend to attack you. If they don't want to attack, they will float high in the sky. Except for a few strong people with the ability to fly, ordinary people have no way to deal with you at all. As a result, Golden Lion used such heaven-defying ability to move ships and islands to play free fall and smash people. Except for some miscellaneous soldiers, who could be killed by the smash. Even meteorites from outer space could not kill people, let alone a few broken ships and a few mounds of earth. Maybe his brain was really stupid because of the half-rudder. In addition, Lion Fruit has a huge advantage that no one else has when it comes to pirates' territory. Why did the separatist situation of the later 4 emperors in the New World remain unchanged for more than 10 years? Did they not want to expand further? No. Maybe Whitebeard and Shanks, one conservative and the other peacekeeper, are not very aggressive, but what about the ambitious Kaido and Big Mom? So it's not that they don't want to expand, but that they are no longer able to expand further. As the territory occupied by the pirates rapidly expands, the size of the team needed to maintain the stability of the territory must also expand. So except for the Red Hair Pirates, the number of forces under the other 4 emperors' pirates has swelled to tens of thousands. However, since this world is made up of countless islands scattered across the sea, and the islands are far apart, the territory occupied by the 4 emperors is not a connected land, but a group of very scattered islands. Therefore, the number of people in the royal group is still far from enough compared to the territory they need to defend. This is also the main reason why they are unable to station enough troops on every island within their sphere of influence to resist invasion, but need to rely on deterrence to protect these islands. Just like the territorial behavior of animals such as lions and tigers, I urinated, planted a flag, to declare that this island is my territory and I will protect it from now on. But if you want to attack, okay, it's embarrassing, I'm not here, I can't do anything to you, you can attack as much as you want. However, the Imperial group must kill the invaders afterwards, because they must make an example of them in order to suppress the rest of the guys who are ready to make moves. They must let everyone know that the 4 Emperors' tiger whiskers cannot be easily provoked. Otherwise, everyone will come to mess with you from time to time, and play the game of when the enemy advances, I retreat, when the enemy stays, I harass, when the enemy is tired, I attack, when the enemy retreats, I pursue with you. Not to mention fighting, just traveling can make them tired to death. This is also why the 4 emperors must be domineering in doing things. Often because of a trivial matter, they would rather start a war and cause some casualties than take a single step back. Are they really stupid for being so competitive? Gear doesn't think so. In order to pave the way for the protagonist, the 4 emperors all have various flaws and they are constantly magnified, but even so, anyone who can sit in that position will never be a useless fool. In fact, the reason for doing this is that they all know in their hearts that they must maintain the deterrent power of the Imperial group itself. In this world where the strong prey on the weak, once you show weakness, you will be attacked by the evil wolves and mad dogs around you. Even the powerful 4 Emperors group is no exception. There are still many silver medal players waiting to take the top spot. Fighting a war with these vicious wolves and mad dogs, even if they win, will not only cost them money and food, but also gain nothing. What's the point? So after going out to make it to high-level pirates, they already know that there is more to the sea than just fighting and killing. Chapter 97. Some people may say that if there are not enough people, just continue to expand. What's so difficult about this? There are so many pirates in the new world, can't we just keep recruiting? Aren't most of the pirates who have been beaten by reality trying their best to join the 4 emperors? This brings us to another issue: financial strength limits the size of their team. Such a large and bloated team would incur huge expenses just to maintain normal operations and daily food, drink, defecation, and urination, and all this money would have to be paid out of the pocket of the helmsman of the 4 emperors. The main source of income for traditional pirates is plundering, but after becoming 4 emperors and having their own territories, they can't just plunder their own islands every day, right? Therefore, the pirates all came up with the idea of collecting protection fees by planting flags to protect the islands. The Whitebeard pirates have a large group of people and a large territory. But Whitebeard is a man of loyalty and he always likes to protect those poor islands that no one wants, even if they can't pay the protection fee. There are not many islands that can collect protection fees, and the fees collected are very low, so it is natural that the Bai group is very poor. Perhaps none of them live as comfortably as those captains of large fleets who fly the Whitebeard flag but still do the old job of pirates. Many people even wondered if Bai Tuan was able to make a living by selling Diamond George's trimmed nails. The situation of red hair pirates should be similar, and they don't make much money. But unlike the white group, Shanks took the elite route. The red group had only a few people, and it would be enough for them to live for a long time just to find time to kill 1 or 2 young pirates who took the initiative to challenge the 4 emperors. Anyway, there are just a dozen stinky men hanging around in a small bar all day drinking and bragging, and they don't even dare to order a hostess. How can they spend any money? What's more, Shank's real identity might be a young master of celestial dragons, or a super rich second generation who went out to sea to experience the pirates' game. Why would he need to worry about money? The Big Mom pirates are relatively special. First of all, they have a lot of people with food-related abilities, so they don't have to worry about food and drink, and they are more than enough to be self-sufficient. She lives in a house built with the power of her fruit. Most of her subordinates are homies and biscuit soldiers who don't have to worry about food or salary. The increase in cotters depends entirely on Charlotte Linland's own births, and the scale of the cotters is limited not only by economic strength but also by fertility. The island protected by Big Mom is not as easy as the red and white group. They must pay tribute to Big Mom on time, otherwise the whole island will be destroyed by Big Mom's pirates. Charlotte Linland also likes to hold tea parties. The kings of the underground world who participate in them always bring a lot of gifts to honor her, but Charlotte Linland usually does it to satisfy her appetite, and stipulates that the tribute items and guests' gifts are often her favorite sweets. The Beasts pirates, on the other hand, took a different approach. They captured pirates, enslaved civilians as free labor, mined or worked in factories, and then dumped the cheap products produced all over the world to quickly occupy the market, playing the game of unscrupulous capitalists. In addition, they had Wanakuni's unique seastone mineral resources, and they even established a connection with the world government to do business. They made money without doing anything, just like the tycoons selling oil in the Middle East. Therefore, the beasts should be the richest four emperors group, but even so, maintaining a scale of tens of thousands of people is already the limit. Having said so much, let's look back at Golden Lion's lion fruit. Not only can it move and gather islands together to solve the problem of too many territories being too scattered, but it can also facilitate management and economic development by concentrating them. It can also turn them all into floating sky islands and hide them in the sky to stabilize the rear security. You can even bring your home with you when you go out to fight, without having to worry about others stealing your home, so lion fruit really has huge advantages. Gale shook his head and found that he was thinking a little too far. He should not always be so arrogant as to use a god's perspective to help others imagine the best solution. This is the real world, not a cartoon. He just needs to be himself. However, as the saying goes, those who do not plan for eternity are not qualified to plan for the moment, those who do not plan for the overall situation are not qualified to plan for a region. Many things can be planned in advance. Gale really enjoys the warmth of daily sea voyages, as long as it does not exceed 3 days. Otherwise, he will start to get bored and can only use the mahjong table or other board games to kill time. If it exceeds a week, Gale will be so bored that he wants to jump into the sea. As time passed at sea and we got closer to our destination, the temperature slowly dropped. Swoosh, a cold wind blew. A group of young men on the deck were lifting weights while sweating profusely, not feeling the cold at all. Ajin and Weibul were shirtless, and their muscles were burning so fiercely that white mist was rising up, as if they were in second gear. Hachu! Only Captain Gale, who was feeling weak, sneezed and couldn't help shrinking his neck. It's only been a few days, and it's suddenly changed from spring to winter. It's worthy of being called the Grand Line. Gale was not going to suffer for the sake of face, so he immediately opened the system mall and bought himself a pair of long johns. He also customized winter suits for all members according to their body shapes. The most important thing was that everyone had a military-style down jacket with a hood on top and covering the knees, which was very warm. After buying clothes for others, Gear thought for a moment and changed his and Weibul's coats into the classic red and black bull's color. Well? Then let's go with a black base and a red fire cloud pattern. After all, we're going to do something bad this time. Gale began to overdraw his few artistic cells, gesticulating at the system interface that only he could see. To outsiders, it looked like he was dancing awkwardly. Looking at the white island appearing in front of him, Senior put away his telescope, grabbed a rope and swung down from the watchtower. He walked to Gale's side and was about to speak when he saw the captain gesticulating with his hands and doing a strange dance. Although he couldn't understand it, seeing that Captain Gale was fully focused on it, he couldn't bear to interrupt him, so he stood aside and waited quietly. Chapter 98. Ding! Purchase successful. Please check. After a long time, Gale finally finished designing the clothes he would wear when landing in the Magnetic Drum Kingdom. He turned around and saw Senior standing quietly beside him, obviously having something to say. Hachu! Gale blew his nose, quickly took out his down jacket from the storage space and put it on. Feeling his body gradually warming up, Gale asked, "What's wrong, O'Neill? Come on, put on your coat first, don't catch a cold, these are the winter clothes prepared for you," Gale said, handing over the other coat. Senior put out the cigarette in his mouth, took the down jacket without hesitation and put it on his shoulders. The weather suddenly became cold, and he was shivering in the cold wind after standing for a while. "Thank you, Captain, but Captain, my name is Senior, not O'Neill." "Hey, it's just one word, don't be so stingy." Ger joked nonchalantly. "Captain. This is not just one word missing, not only is there one word missing, but even the order of the other words has changed. This is already a completely different name." Senior said somewhat helplessly, as he zipped up his jacket and tried to put on the hood, and found that the jacket the captain bought was a good fit. Okay, I'm just joking with you. By the way, what do you want to talk to me about?" Gale didn't continue to try to figure out his mentality and got straight to the point. "Oh, it was, but it's fine now. Originally I came to tell you that there is an island ahead. We should have reached the waters around the Drum Kingdom, but I didn't dare to disturb you because I saw you were concentrating on your work. Now we are almost at the shore and you have seen the island, so there is no need for me to notify you." Senor waved his hand and smiled. "Oh, okay, your notice is not very timely, but you did arrive in time. Please help me distribute these thick clothes to everyone. The weather has become so cold all of a sudden. Everyone must be frozen. I have packed everyone's clothes into small packages. You will understand when you take them out and take a look." Gale said as he handed Senor a large bag of winter clothes he had selected for everyone. "Okay, Captain. I'll send it to them first." After Senor left, Gale put on his hat and watched snowflakes begin to fall from the sky. He turned his head to look at the huge island that appeared in front of him, as well as the strange-shaped mountains in the center of the island. Several dark shadows were looming in the clouds. Rather than calling it a mountain, it would be more appropriate to describe such a regular cylinder as several large pillars. The top of the mountain seems to have been flattened by something, presenting a flat circular platform, covered with snow all year round, like a layer of cream spread on a cake. Drum Island is a typical winter island. Most of the time in the year is in winter with ice and snow. To be more precise, there is actually only one season here, which is winter. However, the locals still insist on forcibly separating the 2 or 3 months each year when there are fewer snowstorms and the weather is slightly better from winter and call them spring. Perhaps to outsiders this is the difference between a few degrees below 0 Celsius and more than 10 degrees below 0 Celsius, basically no difference. But in their opinion this difference is huge. From now on they can have something more to look forward to during the long winter. This white island is shrouded in severe cold all year round, and even the sea surface more than 10 kilometers away has been frozen into a glacier. The boat of Gale and his crew had to circle the island for a long time before finding a suitable place to dock and land. Fortunately, as sea seals, Ada and Aer have warm fur and a thick layer of fat, so they are not afraid of the cold. On the contrary, they like this icy and snowy environment very much. So after docking and disbanding, they did not rush back to the sea to find food, but played on the ice. "Let's go. This island is much bigger than the ones we've been to before. You can take a good look around and play in the snow. You can have some free time. Come back here in a week. As usual, each of you will come and receive 5 million Baileys as activity funds to help the local economy." Gale took out a large box of Bailey and spoke to his companions who had already changed into winter clothes while standing at the bow. "Great! Let's play in the snow. Jin, Sister Funi, let's go skiing together. And ice skating. It must be fun." Bia was the first one to jump up and cheer. A puff of white smoke came out of her mouth while she spoke. She found it very interesting and started to puff out smoke just like Senor smoked. "Well, I've never skied before either. When it comes to new things, Funi's eyes sparkle with excitement. But the weather here is really cold." Fortunately, she had warm clothes and a down jacket on her upper body, a woolen hat and a large scarf, autumn trousers on her lower body and a pair of thickened cotton trousers with fleece on the outside, thick leather gloves on her hands, snow boots on her feet, and several hot packs on her stomach and back. As the weakest member, she received the special package carefully prepared for her by Captain Gur. "Gale really took a lot of effort to keep us warm. Although this place is known as a world power in medical care and it is very convenient to see a doctor when you are sick, you can't bring trouble upon yourself. The environment here is harsh, so the animals are extremely ferocious by nature, but I believe you can handle it with your strength. Just be careful not to be defenseless." Gale warned the boys beside him, and they all nodded seriously when they heard it. "It really lives up to my own aesthetic taste." Seeing that the pretty girls became more beautiful and the handsome boys became more handsome after putting on new clothes, Captain Gur nodded with satisfaction. Captain, why are the clothes you bought for all of us so nice, but your own and Wilba's coats are a little weird?" Curious baby Baya asked a question, and everyone realized that the same coat worn by Gale and Weeble was obviously not of the same style as theirs. The pure black with a few blood-red fire clouds gave them an indescribable strange feeling, especially against the background of the white world of ice and snow. It seemed somewhat out of place. What happened to our coats? Don't they look good?" Gale asked with a coquettish smile. "Well, he is good-looking, but he doesn't look like a good person at first glance." Ger rubbed her head, smiled and said nothing. After receiving the money, everyone rubbed their hands together and jumped onto the shore. In front of them, the sky and the earth were vast and boundless, and the ice and snow seemed to cover everything on the island. What a holy and magnificent natural landscape! As soon as everyone got ashore, they were thankful that Captain Ghoul had prepared thick warm clothes and a bunch of equipment to fight the cold for them. Otherwise, they would have been frozen into ice sculptures as soon as they got off the boat, let alone playing in the snow. Chapter 99. Bow. I watched the figures in the snow slowly move away, and finally turned into a few black dots and disappeared from my sight. Ger turned around and saw Senor and Crocus, who were still on the boat, and asked, "Don't you want to go for a walk? The scenery here is quite magnificent with thousands of miles of ice and snow-capped mountains. Moria is staying here this time." That guy said that he felt that there seemed to be new progress in the development of the shadow fruit recently, and he hid in his room alone to study the power of the fruit. Crocus rubbed his palms and said embarrassedly, "No, I want to visit an old friend and bring some gifts. I also want to buy some advanced medical equipment here. So Captain, can you please ask for more funding? 5 million may not be enough. How much money do you need?" Ger asked directly. Crocus stretched out his hand and counted on his fingers. After careful calculation, he finally had 3 fingers left. "Well, about 30 million, is that okay?" Crocus knew that 30 million was not a small amount. If it were on an ordinary pirate ship, he might only get that much money by capturing and selling the pirate captain with a bounty on his head. But Captain Gale was different. Click. "Here are 200 million Baileys." Without saying a word, Gale placed a large suitcase on the deck and gave instructions. "If you see any advanced and useful medical equipment, just buy it. Don't worry about whether it can be placed on the ship. If it can't be placed, I can put it away for you first, and then build you an advanced and spacious medical room when we get a new ship." Without waiting for Crocus to speak, Gale took out several large bags of things, which contained precious medicinal supplements, snacks and biscuits, fresh fruits and vegetables, and most importantly, cigarettes and alcohol, especially plum wine. Gale had already guessed who Crocus' old friend was. "I have prepared gifts for you." "Ha ha ha, thank you so much, Captain. Then I'll be off." Crocus said this and happily carried the bags and took Laboon off the boat. Gale looked at the last remaining Senor and asked, "What about you, do you need anything, Senor? Or do you want to stay on the boat because of the cold?" Captain Gale is very considerate to his companions. Senor exhaled a puff of smoke, looked at Ger with burning eyes, and asked respectfully, "Captain, can I join you this time? I also want to contribute to this big family." "Well, it's not impossible for you to go if you want, but it's a little troublesome." Seeing that Ger frowned slightly, Senor asked with some frustration, "Is it because I'm too weak?" "I understand, Captain. I'm sorry, I will work hard to improve my strength as soon as possible and try to help you soon." Senor clenched his fists, feeling very unwilling, but when he thought about his current strength compared to the 2 monsters, Weevil and Moria, he was indeed just a drag. "Well, no, I mean it's really troublesome to have to prepare a new coat for you." Captain Gale had no empathy at all, and Senor was almost knocked to the ground by this answer. Then, in a trance, Senor saw something flying towards him. He subconsciously reached out to catch it, and then he saw that it was a black jacket with a red fire cloud printed on it, the same style as the one the captain was wearing. "Put it on, we're getting ready to go." Seeing that Gale and Weibul had zipped up their coats, Senor quickly put on his coat as well. "By the way, Senor, do you want to try some devil fruit? I happen to have a fruit here that I think would be perfect for you." Gale suddenly remembered the ancient devil fruit he got from Xia. Zoan has great strength and physique, as well as amazing recovery ability, and the ancient species is much stronger than ordinary Zoan, which is perfect for the tough Senor who likes hand-to-hand combat. "Captain, I am willing to eat the devil fruit. I want to become stronger," Senor said seriously. Gear took out the big bayberry and said with a smile, "He, this is the ancient form of the Zoan bug fruit, the Meganura dragonfly. I've looked up the information. The Meganura dragonfly is a prehistoric insect, a giant among insects. This dragonfly not only has super strong flying ability, but also has a 360-degree field of vision and is particularly sensitive to moving objects. The key is that its brain is much smarter than most insects, and its hunting success rate is close to 100%. It is one of the most successful hunters among all animals. That's what the book says, but we still have to eat it to know whether it's really effective or not. How about it? Do you want to try it? Can you really give it to me? Such a precious thing. I don't have it yet. Seeing that Senior was still talking nonsense, Gale stuffed the devil fruit in his hand into his mouth. Good dong. Senior struggled for a few times and almost suffocated on the spot, but finally swallowed the devil fruit whole. Ugh! What a horrible taste! Hey, hurry up and try out your abilities. Ger and Weeble squatted down and prepared to watch his performance. Power. Captain. I feel my body is full of power. Is this the devil fruit from ancient times? It's so strong. Senior said excitedly as he felt the huge changes happening inside his body. Oh? So strong? Come on, give Weeble a punch quickly so I can feel it. Gale also became interested, but he still secretly asked Weeble to remember to let the sea go and not beat the man into depression. Senior was no longer as calm as before, and was eager to try out the power he had just gained. However, he restrained himself and took off his coat first for fear of damaging the new clothes given by the captain. Here I come. Be careful, Weeble, I feel like my punch is many times stronger than before. Bring it on. Weeble didn't waste any words and waved at Senior, indicating that he was ready and could attack at any time. Senior clenched his fists, and with a burst of energy under his feet, he suddenly appeared in front of Weeble. Boom! Bang! The two men faced each other with a punch, and then Senior was blown away and hit a pile of rocks on the shore, plowing a long deep trench in the snow on the ground. Didn't I tell you to be gentler? Gale looked at Weeble with some resentment. Ah! I've been a little gentler, brother. Weeble scratched his head somewhat aggrievedly. Just as Ger was about to go over to collect the body of Senior, he heard a rustling sound coming from the hole in the ground. Pa! You are too strong. If it weren't for this ancient devil fruit that has greatly increased my physical strength and recovery ability, I would have lost consciousness after receiving that punch just now. Senior spat a mouthful of bloody saliva to the side, stood up again and said. Gale also nodded in approval. The fact that Senior was not defeated by a single punch showed that his physical condition had indeed improved a lot. I'm really going to use my full strength from now on. What happened just now doesn't count, I forgot to transform. Chapter 100. As soon as he finished speaking, Senior's muscles began to explode, and his height of about 1.8 meters instantly expanded to about 5 meters. Two pairs of transparent wings with black veins grew behind him, and there was a thick dragonfly tail behind him. The vibration of the black wings allowed his body to hover in the air. In just a few breaths, all the external injuries on his body were restored to their original state. Gale at the side couldn't help but sigh that Zoan's recovery ability was really terrifying. Under the sunglasses, Senior's entire eyeballs have turned red, with a colorful metallic luster on the surface, like two sparkling rubies. If you look closely, you will find that they are composed of countless small grids, just like the compound eyes of a dragonfly. Captain, please move away. Senior in the air reminded loudly, and then the wings behind him vibrated at a high frequency, and instantly accelerated and dived down. In a flash, the two men faced off again. I can see clearly. Senior was overjoyed. With his eyes open, he found that he could see Weeble's punches very clearly, and even predict the timing and trajectory of his punches. It was a magical feeling. He felt that as long as he wanted, he could use his wings to dodge Weeble's attack and move at high speed to get behind him and then attack. Although Senior has not yet developed the serious illness in the original novel, where he must not dodge or evade in battle, must take the opponent's attack head-on, and never attack from behind, he is still a pragmatic and normal person. However, this was a sparring between partners, and also to test the strength after eating the fruit, so he did not dodge, but chose to confront head-on like a real man. Boom! A huge shock wave erupted from the center of the colliding fists. The two sides were in a stalemate for a while, and after Weeble increased his strength again, Senior was flung away again, but this time he just flapped his wings a few times in the air and stabilized his body, and was not knocked away again. Okay, that's it. Very good, Senior. Your strength and speed have greatly improved. Senior folded his wings and slowly descended from the air, returning to his original form, and spoke. How terrifying! Even after eating the ancient Zoan devil fruit and increasing his power so much, he still can't win. He's as strong as ever. Weeble. Although my brother asked me to use only 50% of my strength to fight you at the beginning, your strength is really good. Later, I used 60% of it. After receiving the praise, Wilbur raised his head proudly and said complacently. Senior was even more shocked when he heard this. He didn't expect that the power that could completely crush him was only 50% to 60% of Weeble's power. No. It seems that I need to continue to practice hard, otherwise the gap will only get wider. That's great. You've already made such a big improvement after just eating. You will definitely become stronger after you spend some time getting familiar with it. However, the most fundamental thing is your own taijutsu and haki. You still have to keep training. Ger encouraged. Yes. I will definitely work harder to practice. Thank you, Captain, for giving me such a precious devil fruit. Senior thanked him solemnly again. All right, you're going to start being so polite again. We're family, there's no need to be so polite. Ger waved his hand to interrupt. Gale is still very optimistic about him. In this world, there is a law that a strong heart makes a strong person. That is, the stronger and more resolute a person's will and beliefs are, the more chances he has to become a strong person. Senior is also a rare person with a strong heart. If he can develop the ancient seed fruit to awakening, combined with powerful physical skills and haki, he will definitely be qualified to be among the top combat forces. Senior was deeply moved. He had chosen to join a local underworld force in North Blue just to survive in this chaotic world. After several years of diligent work and excellent completion of various tasks, he was finally promoted to Cotter and realized that he was working for the Don Quixote family. Just when he wanted to work hard to build his career. He didn't expect that he, a small leader, would be sold like a commodity by Doflamingo after only a few days. He hated Doflamingo for trampling on his dignity and loyalty so casually. But after calming down, he felt that if he were in his place, he would also agree to this deal. There was simply too much he couldn't give. So he couldn't understand why Captain Gale, whom he met for the first time, was willing to spend a sky-high price of 3 billion Baileys to take him away from the Don Quixote family. It is important for a person to know himself. He did not think that a small person like himself could be worth so much money. He began to suspect that the other party must have other purposes. But what on earth did he have that was worthy of a big man like Captain Gale to go to so much trouble to pursue? At first, he was still worried about the unknown life he would face in the future, but after spending some time together, Senior was surprised to find that everything seemed completely different from what he had expected. On this ship, everyone was very friendly, they were really like a family, which made people want to join in and want to protect this precious warmth together. Senior finally couldn't hold back his curiosity, and after a banquet he went straight to Captain Gale and asked him why he had spent a huge price to get him from the Don Quixote family. Gale was also stunned by the question. He couldn't say that he had watched the anime Pirates King and thought you were a good person and had a tragic fate, so he wanted to help you out. After a brief thought, Captain Gale began to be mysterious again. He pointed at his own eyes, then pounded Senior's chest and said seriously, "My eyes have a special skill called fiery eyes, which can see through the essence of things. I see that you have a shining heart, and it is not completely corrupt. Staying in the Don Quixote family will only make it suffer. Meeting is fate, so I let you see the nature of the evil party, hoping to make you wake up and not waste your loyalty on the wrong path." Senior stretched out his right hand and clenched it, feeling the power that was now getting stronger. Captain Gale is right, my loyalty should not be wasted on the wrong place. I will use this power to help the captain clear all obstacles on his way forward. Hey! Senior! Stop being in a daze. We should leave. If we wait until it gets dark, we won't be able to make it to the castle for dinner. Hearing Captain Gale's urging, Senior finally woke up from his memories, quickly picked up the black coat on the deck and chased after him. Here I come, wait for me, Captain. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel so you are notified of future uploads. You can find the next parts in the playlist visible on the screen or on my channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.